Anger over plans to force children to wear face masks in secondary schools. But figures show a fall in the number of new COVID cases. So is this fair? We'll be speaking to the Education Secretary, Nadhim Zahawi, a little bit later on in the show. Do send us your thoughts. Hospitals are banning visitors amid a rise in admissions. But are these measures proportionate or even humane? And last year was terrible for the hospitality industry, but will this year be any better? We'll be speaking to pub and restaurant owners. So do be sure to get in touch and get involved in the brand new Look show this morning. We're all about the stories that matter to you. You can email us, gbviews@gbnews.uk, or tweet @gbnews. We want to hear from you. So our top story this morning, and secondary school pupils in England will be wearing masks in the classroom this week, but not their teachers. Pupils will also need to be tested before coming back from the Christmas break. But just yesterday, ministers said there was nothing in the current COVID data to suggest more curbs like these were needed in England. Well, let's go to GB News' national reporter Paul Hawkins. A very good morning to you, joining us from Westminster. Look, really good news that no more restrictions are expected to be brought in, at least not this week. But yet more restrictions are needed in the classroom. Tell us more.
Yeah, and the reason the government would say that more restrictions are needed in the classroom is because they are worried about staff absences. They're worried about the rising rates of Omicron in England and Wales. Just to give you the latest data, Isabel, 137,583 COVID cases in England and Wales yesterday. So for the last 12 days, COVID cases in the country rising, in England at least, rising over the last, have been over 100,000 during the last 12 days. So 1.1 million people have tested positive from the 27th of December to the 2nd of January. That's up 43% on the previous 7 days. So the government is worried about this Omicron wave then feeding into hospitalisation rates, which we should say at the moment, we should stress, are rising, but they're not rising fast. And the NHS is under pressure, but it's not under unsustainable pressure. Nevertheless, a lot of people are having to self-isolate, and that in itself is also something that's coming under scrutiny. At the moment, you have to self-isolate for 7 days. There are calls for that to be cut to 5 days, as they have done in the US. But at the moment, the UK Health Security Agency is saying that the self-isolation period is going to stay to 7 days. But in terms of schools, Nadhim Zahawi, the Education Secretary, writing to schools yesterday, late last night, saying to schools that he's sure that they're going to do everything they can to remain open. Of course, the emphasis very much on keeping kids in school, getting face-to-face education instead of having to learn remotely from home. Some of the measures that he suggested schools can undertake include merging classes, getting tested as soon as they arrive at school this week, taking a lateral flow test, and then ongoing getting tested at home before you leave for school every 2 weeks. That is, of course, if you can get a lateral flow test, because just before I came on air just now, I checked the government website. You can't get any lateral flow tests posted to you, and the suggestion is to go to your local pharmacy or chemist. For the last 2 or 3 weeks near me in Surrey, I've been to 2 or 3 pharmacies, and I've been unable to get a lateral flow test myself. So getting hold of a test, very difficult. But yeah, a range of measures that the government is asking schools to undertake: merging classes, getting tested, and wearing those face masks, which, it has to be said, a senior Conservative MP, Robert Halfon, chair of the Education Select Committee, has said that he's worried about the effect it could have on kids' mental health. He says the Children's Minister has been to see him, and that there is no evidence, strong, clear, robust evidence, that face masks actually make much of a difference in schools. She was saying that there are no studies on schools in England that says that face masks really make much of a difference, but scientists would say there is some evidence, looking at schools in the US, at schools in Europe, that they do keep COVID rates down. That it does make some significant difference, and that wearing a face mask is better than not wearing a face mask at all.
Paul, all of that being said, it is just 48 hours until some schools reopen, many of them opening this time tomorrow. And these measures appear to have been a bit last minute. We're also hearing about plans to improve ventilation. Is that a criticism that's being levelled at the Education Department?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I've been hearing from one teacher who said that this has kind of come out of the blue a little bit. I mean, some schools have been asking their pupils to wear face masks anyway, so that's not too much of an imposition, having to ask kids to wear face masks. In England, it hasn't happened since last May, and now they're going to have to wear face masks all day. That's already been happening in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. But certainly in terms of the testing logistics, getting the lateral flow test to school, enabling schools to provide that testing on site, what are the logistical requirements that that's going to undertake? Yeah, there are a lot of questions that schools are asking ministers, and at the moment there doesn't seem to be enough answers, at least that's what they're saying.
Yeah, indeed. OK, Paul, good to see you. I know we're going to be seeing you throughout the course of the morning. Thank you very much indeed. Well, as Paul was just explaining, secondary school pupils are being told now to take COVID tests before coming back to class this week. Mandatory face masks will also be in place for those pupils as part of efforts to curb the spread of the Omicron variant. The Education Secretary, Nadeem Zahawi, says schools must do everything they can to protect face-to-face learning, and we'll have him on the programme a little bit later today. A legal document Prince Andrew's lawyers hope will end the civil sex case against him is going to be made public. His accuser, Virginia Giuffre, entered into a settlement agreement in 2009 with the Duke of York's former friend and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Well, the Prince's lawyers claim the contents of the document will end her claim against him. Hundreds of thousands of people have signed a petition calling for Tony Blair to be stripped of his knighthood. The former Prime Minister was included in the New Year's honours list, but critics say the 2003 invasion of Iraq makes him unsuitable for the Queen's highest honour. And new figures show lockdown activities led to thousands more people attending hospital. Repeated restrictions meant many turned to DIY, getting new pets and outdoor pursuits. But according to NHS figures, it led to over 8,000 accidents with tools, over 7,000 dog bites and more than 5,000 people falling off playground equipment. Time now to take a look at your Monday morning newspapers. We'll kick things off with the Mirror. They say there's an emergency in the NHS due to staff COVID infections. They say 1 in 10 staff were absent from work on New Year's Eve. Here's the Daily Telegraph. They're reflecting the situation in schools with backlash at masks in schools as cases ease. The paper says some Tory MPs have called for a rethink over the plan to force children to wear masks throughout the school day as infection levels drop. Certainly an interesting one, that, given that people can work in offices without masks, but kids having to bear the brunt of that one. Let's go to the Daily Express. They're going with Boris holding his nerve as NHS feels the strain. They say the Prime Minister will not introduce further restrictions because officials believe that data on Omicron indicates they are not yet necessary. Let's take a look at the Daily Mail. They are talking about the cost of living crisis. It's going to be a really big story this year. They're saying pressures building on the PM over escalating energy bills. He is facing demands to honour a Brexit campaign pledge to scrap VAT on fuel, knocking £60 off annual bills. Also focusing on schools this morning, The Guardian says the government's told head teachers to merge classes to cope with staff off sick with COVID. Heads have also been told to use support staff and to allow some classes to be taught remotely. And the Daily Star says we're set for a polar plunge, with Britain facing temperatures as low as -10. It says the cold weather will start to bite from today. Now, luckily for those in England, this year's festive period was relatively restriction-free. But did that mean you all went out to celebrate, or is Omicron still too scary? Well, our East Midlands reporter Will Hollis went out to Grantham to ask you how you celebrated Christmas and New Year's this year.
Christmas Day on our own, me and my husband at our house. We didn't see our family, and that was in order to then be able to celebrate for New Year's Eve. So we had quite a quiet Christmas this year. We didn't go to any bars or pubs, and then New Year's Eve we went to a big party and did tests before we went.
We went out New Year's Eve afternoon, so I was at a local restaurant, the wife and I, because she works retail, so she was working the following day. So we were eating and drinking in the afternoon. The kids, who are both grown up now, were out in the pubs in the evening.
We would usually probably go to the pub for a few drinks, but we didn't this year because obviously COVID is still around, this new variant, and we just wanted to keep our family as safe as possible.
We went out for meals and we also had Christmas with the family. We didn't really alter any plans, and the reason for that was because we're all vaccinated. as requested by the government, and we just took precautions as and when needed.
Because of mine and my husband's age, we feel a lot more vulnerable, so we prefer not to go to places. We could have gone to somewhere on New Year's Eve, which is very close to us, but we chose not to.
Normally I would go out and about and possibly go to a football match and things like that, but not now, no.
I spent it with my daughter. Only one son came with me, so there's only 3 of us, and we didn't go out socialising, and although I've been boosted, I feel a bit safer having that.
We felt really confident about New Year's. Obviously we had loads of family and friends around, and we really enjoyed doing what we were doing. Like, there was karaoke involved, everyone was just having fun, and although there was like old people, like my girlfriend's nana there involved, like we weren't afraid of Omicron at all. Like, it was just us being together, like in unity, you know, in harmony and peace. So there was nothing to be afraid of, mate, honestly.
This is the new future. Just get on with it. Wear your mask when you go into a restaurant, sit down, then take it off and have your meal or drink or whatever, and use a bit of common sense. Life has got to get on. We've got to get on with it.
We've got to get on with it, he says. Well, here to tell us the other side of the story is Peter Borgneil. He's the owner of 36 pubs, restaurants and hotels across the UK, and the founder and executive chairman of the Eamonn Group. Really good morning to you. Thanks for joining us this morning. Look, we saw so many people cancelling Christmas parties before Christmas, taking the advice of Chris Whitty to limit who they saw in order to protect their loved ones at Christmas. But it wasn't necessarily the same story at New Year, was it? Was there a big uptick for you, people travelling in from Wales, from Scotland? You know, how's it been? How's the festive period been for you?
Good morning. The festive period has been very, very poor for my industry. It's been better since Christmas Day. More people have came out. I think people were maybe cautious leading up to Christmas Day. Maybe they wanted to make sure they didn't catch COVID and therefore have to quarantine. Since then, it's been busier, but it's not back to normal, nowhere near. And New Year's Eve was busy, but again, not at the normal levels. And even if the demand had been there, we're struggling a little bit with people because people are being quarantined, and therefore it's much harder to get the amount of staff we need to fully open. So it's still very much a struggle for us.
And how do you feel about January, given that there is still this lingering threat of Omicron, and at the same time, so many people, of course, famously cash-strapped after Christmas, and many people, myself included, doing dry January. Are you going to be able to recoup any of the losses this month, or indeed in the short term?
We hope so. We kind of feel that you'll see a kind of the cases will have peaked fairly soon, and hopefully this could well be the end of COVID. We don't know for sure yet, but normally viruses do tend to kind of fade away with a kind of milder version. And if that's the case, we actually believe that things might start to pick up, because actually people have got money left over for Christmas this year because they've spent less than normal, because they've been out. I mean, as for dry January, I'm kind of hoping that people might give it a miss this year, particularly given that many of them stayed in over December, because otherwise it's just another blow for us. Because we're trying to put the businesses back together and to make sure that we've got a future.
Well, I suppose there are alternatives, aren't there? There's lots of non-alcoholic options people can do. I know there's a thing being described as try-annuary, to go out and try new pubs, perhaps new drinks, in support of your local pubs. Because, of course, the risk is, after all of this, we may well see our much-beloved locals closing down.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. And, of course, things have changed, whereby I remember when I started that any non-alcoholic beer that was available was absolutely awful. And now it's very, very good, and people are quite keen on the non-alcoholic cocktails and such like, and there's always plenty of fresh juice and everything else. So yeah, that's a good idea. So if people do want to do January, please don't do it from home. Please come out and socialise, because we need our industry to kind of pick itself up and to try and get involved in rebuilding the economy.
Noted. I am going to stick to my dry January for health reasons. I need to, have a really good month, but I will try and support my local, and I'm sure lots of people will do the same. Peter Borgneil from the Eamonn Group, thanks very much, and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you.
Now, another big story emerging. Some hospitals have started banning visitors again because of the rising number of COVID cases in the northeast of England. A third hospital's now announced it's suspending visitors. And our reporter Rachel Sweeney is live for us at the University Hospital of North Tees in Stockton. Very good morning to you, Rachel, and Happy New Year to you as well. Look, bring us up to speed on this story. Which hospitals aren't allowing visitors? How have people in your area taken that news?
Hello, good morning, Isabel. Yes, the University Hospital of North Tees is the third hospital in the northeast of England to temporarily suspend visitors because of rising COVID numbers. At the weekend, the Sunderland Royal and South Tyneside District Hospital also temporarily suspended visitors. North Tees and Hartlepool NHS Foundation Trust said it was a difficult decision to make, but one that they felt that they had to because of rising COVID numbers. Now, some people will be allowed in under what they've called exceptional circumstances, and families are asked to contact wards directly to plead their case, as it were. Now, so many viewers have been in touch about this topic. Chris Clark said, "I'm due to be a dad. I hope it doesn't affect births." Chris Johnson, "It's a necessary evil because the infection is so great." Owen Weir, "Cancer treatment is bad enough without having to do it alone." Rupert Myers said, "We should just trust our medical professionals." Ms Sterling said she never got over losing her dad and not being able to see him was very difficult. She said that the situation needs managing properly. Shelley, 60, "When I was in hospital, I used a phone and iPad, so it didn't really matter that nobody could come in." And Ken Clasper said it's very difficult for people with dementia. Now, Chris Hobson, who is the Chief Executive of the NHS providers, they represent the health trusts. He posted a 25-tweet thread, and in it he said the NHS is under extreme pressure, arguably more pressure than it was last January. He said that there's a rapid increase in community infections, and that really is the issue that they're having here in Stockton, which is why they've made the decision at this hospital. He said the NHS is working flat out. The next couple of days is crucial, and they'll continue to monitor the situation.
Rachel, one of the quotes you're reading there was from an expectant father. And of course, one of the lessons we learned from the last 2 years of this pandemic is the trauma that couples experience of being separated through anything to do with the birthing process, whether it be scans, whether it be the birth itself. And yet we're now hearing from some hospital trusts, I believe there's one in Birmingham, that partners are now not able to go to scans because of rising cases. And of course, sometimes scans are incredibly traumatic. Women find out that they've lost their baby, for example. A number of MPs very unhappy about this.
Yeah, it's a really difficult balance, isn't it? I have a mummy group of 12 friends who I met when I had my baby, and I spoke to them in our WhatsApp group last night. 3 of them have just recently had babies. They said it's been difficult because the partners can't come to consultation appointments, but you know, a lot of people don't take partners to consultation appointments anyway because their partners work full time. It's not one of those exciting scans or anything. You don't get a picture. It's just a sort of a routine thing. Some of them have found it very difficult to not have the support, so it really depends on the individual circumstances. Now, there are some changes that women do have to face in clinics and hospitals. Some midwife appointments now are phone or video. Now, some people have argued against that because it's such an important relationship you have with your midwife, and for it to be over the phone, arguably, it's not as personal. You might have to wear a mask and gown in hospital, or you might be asked to provide a negative result. Also, appointments can be cancelled or rescheduled, which is very difficult if you are feeling anxious. But the NHS says that it understands that birth partners are extremely important for well-being during labour and birth. So dads can be there if they don't have symptoms. Something I found absolutely remarkable when I was doing some research for this was that people are asked to find backup birth partners in case the dad or partner has to isolate or has COVID symptoms. I just can't imagine being in the situation where you're about to give birth and you know, it's not your birth partner there. But going back to Chris, who we mentioned in the viewer opinions, I spoke to him last night on Twitter. He is very excited. His wife or partner will be giving birth in this hospital right here in the next couple of days, any day now. And I've sent him all the very best from all of us.
Oh, sending our best as well. Rachel, thank you very much for taking us through all of that. Now, coming up, we've enjoyed, of course, our mild December weather, but are we heading into a wild January? Just before the half hour, we're going to tell you if your home is under a yellow weather warning. But after the break, we'll also be discussing whether Prince Andrew could be asked to stop using his Duke of York title. Senior members of the military are rumoured to support the idea if he loses the Virginia Roberts sexual assault lawsuit. We'll be discussing that after the weather.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Welcome to your latest weather forecast from the Met Office. As we move into Monday, we'll see a band of rain and hill snow slowly sinking its way southwards across more northern areas. Elsewhere, some dry and bright periods at times, just a few showers, but turning much colder from the north later, and very windy conditions developing in northern Scotland by the evening. Low pressure will dominate northwestern parts of Europe through the coming few days, keeping it unsettled, but much colder air floods southwards from the Arctic by Tuesday to all parts of the UK, bringing much colder conditions, a risk of wintry showers, particularly in the north, and some very strong winds in northern Scotland for a time. Back to Sunday evening though, and we've still got a number of showers working their way from west to east across the country, heaviest towards more western coasts, with drier and clearer spells more likely the further east you live. With that breeze continuing though, it will keep temperatures up into high single figures in most places tonight, but
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello there, I'm Eamonn.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamonn Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamonn
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News. Just after 6:20. Welcome back. Military chiefs and royal courtiers are reportedly planning to strip Prince Andrew of his Duke of York title and send him into a form of internal exile over his connections to the late paedophile Jeffrey Epstein and his accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell. The prince is facing a lawsuit from Epstein survivor Virginia Giuffre, who insists she was trafficked to the prince by Maxwell and Epstein when she was just 17, a claim he has always denied. Well, Professor Anna Whitelock is a historian of monarchy, and she joins us now. Very good morning to you, Professor. Look, here we go, the Maxwell trial over, and yet here he is on the front of one of the papers once again. The story doesn't go away, does it? First of all, let's talk about what internal exile would mean if he was to be stripped of his titles.
Yeah, I mean, I think, first of all, it's important to say this would be down to the Queen. It's not down to courtiers or the military. The talk is potentially that he would be asked to step back, to not use the title the Duke of York, which, of course, was given to him by the Queen, but is also for the sort of second son within a royal family. It's the traditional title. He's also Colonel of the Grenadier Guards, for example, an honorary title that he inherited from his father in 2017. So the suggestion is that he would be asked to step down from those honorific military positions, and in that sense really not have a royal active position anymore, and therefore go into essentially a kind of no man's land or an internal exile, as you say.
OK, and how might things change this week? Because I believe there's a case in New York again where a deal that was struck between Giuffre and Epstein in 2009 will be made public for the first time. Obviously, the Prince's lawyers believe that will benefit his case. What's the expectation of where he'll be in a few days' time?
Well, this is an agreement that was signed between Virginia Giuffre, now Roberts, and Jeffrey Epstein, which was essentially a kind of confidentiality agreement and also that further charges or accusations wouldn't be levelled against anybody else. Including the Duke of York's lawyers say royalty, and therefore essentially meaning that no further charges or any suggestion of accusations or law cases could be levelled against him. Virginia's lawyers say this is simply not the case, and the Duke of York is just kind of ducking and diving the inevitable. So the best case for the Duke of York would be that the judge agrees that this agreement does rule out any action against the Duke of York from Virginia. And of course, it's important to stress this is a civil case. There's no criminal charges have been brought. Virginia Roberts will hope that the judge throws this out, and therefore we move to this potential hearing later this year when the Duke of York, Prince Andrew, would be expected to appear.
OK, well, all eyes, I think, will be on that case on Wednesday. As you point out, a civil case, Professor Anne Whitelock, happening on Wednesday. Thanks very much for taking us through that this morning. Now, we enjoyed the warmest New Year's Day on record, but the Met Office has now issued a warning for heavy storms and blizzards in parts of Scotland. Winds could reach up to 70 miles an hour with snow and heavy rain expected. The yellow weather warning applies to places including Orkney and Shetland, Fife, Tayside and the Highlands. Well, here to explain what this means is John Hammond, meteorologist at Weather Trending and friend of the channel. Very good morning to you. This is a part of the world that, of course, was really badly affected by Storm Arwen not that long ago. Many places cut off without power for a very long time. Do we have any suggestion of the scale of how bad this little wave of weather is going to be?
Well, good morning, Happy New Year. It doesn't look as bad as Arwen, but certainly for the north of Scotland over the next, 48 hours, I would say, you're in for a rough ride. I mean, as you say, it's been a very mild December. It's been very mild across many parts of Western Europe, actually, over the last month or so. But yeah, bit of a shock to the system. A short, sharp shock, I have to say. This is not going to be the beginning of some big freeze. It's going to last weeks and weeks. But nonetheless, the weather's getting into a different gear. And that's all coming courtesy of a cold front, which, as I speak, actually, is moving into the north of Scotland. That's bringing heavy rain and snow to the Highlands now. That's going to move its way southwards across the whole country over the next 24 hours. So it will introduce that colder air even to southern England. We're all going to notice a difference by this time tomorrow. But it's really the north of Scotland and the northeast of Scotland which are going to get the brunt of this short, sharp shock. Very strong winds and very heavy snow. And that's a recipe, as you say, for blizzard conditions. It is the Highlands, it's the Northern Isles, it's down across Aberdeenshire, Fife, Tayside into the likes of Dundee. I would imagine they're going to get quite a lot of snow over the next 24, 36 hours. But further south, although we're going to see that cold front moving its way southwards today, bringing a band of rain, and that'll clear the south coast tomorrow. Behind that, actually, it's going to be bright and it's going to be crisp and it's going to be sunny. And after what's been a remarkably dull December, almost record-breaking cloud amounts and very, very little in the way of sunshine, perhaps for some of us, it'll be a refreshing change. Yes, you're going to need a few layers, that is for sure, but at least we're going to see some crisp blue sky and sunshine, which will make a welcome change. But for all of us, lower temperatures, and for some of us, some heavy snow, blizzards up over the Highlands and the Grampians, which haven't seen a flake of snow for a few weeks now. And even at lower levels, I think for some of us, a bit of the white stuff as we go through the sort of first half of this week. And then come midweek, after a frosty spell, it's kind of back to square one with Atlantic weather systems rushing in from the west, and they're going to deliver milder air and some west and windy weather as well. So all changed through this week.
All change, quite a mixed bag. Good stuff. John Hammond, spoken like a true meteorological enthusiast. We appreciate you coming on bright and early on this Bank Holiday Monday. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Indeed. Well, do stay with us. In a moment, I'll be joined by Eamonn Holmes, and at 6:40 we'll be reviewing this morning's papers and looking at where we are with the Omicron COVID variant after reports say ministers are now confident that no new restrictions are needed. Don't go anywhere. See you in a moment.
Hello there, I'm Eamonn.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamonn Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamonn
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
It's just after 6:30. It's January the 3rd. It is a bank holiday, but we're working. Hopefully you are at home watching Breakfast with me, Eamonn Holmes.
And with me, Isabel Webster.
There you go.
Good to be back together.
Good. Everything's good except getting back up at this time. But what makes it worthwhile is knowing that you guys are out there, and I'm having some lovely messages from people all around the country who are looking forward to whatever we're going to do differently, and hopefully we are going to do lots of things differently.
Yeah.
We're going to do news, but we're going to do news with views. We're going to do your news as well, because if it's important to you, it is important to us.
Yeah, so keep those views coming in. It's a whole brand new look show, and as Eamonn says, at the heart of our programme is going to be your thoughts, your stories, what's getting on your wick, but also we want to celebrate
What's getting on your wick?
What's getting on your wick?
I haven't heard that one in a while.
What's getting on
your wick, Isabel?
Oh, I don't know, nothing. I'm in a
Christmas
really good mood
decorations.
this morning. Oh yeah, Christmas decoration. Well, Saturday they were out. Got rid of them all.
Did you?
Yeah.
When have they to come down? When are they?
They're supposed to come down on the 6th of January.
Right.
And you know, when I was growing up, it was a serious business. The crib at home, you bring in the kings around now.
Oh, yes.
But no, mine are out.
Yeah.
What about you at home? Let us know. Did you get rid of your Christmas tree this weekend like me, or are you still enjoying
What got on my nerves?
What got on your wick?
New Year's Eve fireworks.
Ooh.
Fireworks and pets.
Guilty.
And I want to hear what you're going to say
I
with all
set
of
off
that.
some fireworks.
Well, if you could see my little doggie's face, you wouldn't be selling those things.
Don't make me feel bad. You could have seen my children's face. They love those
But
fireworks.
if your children knew what my doggie's face was like,
maybe.
they wouldn't be
There you
bloody
go.
off the
No, you're
fireworks.
so right. You're so
I'm all
right.
for organised fireworks and whatever, but why do we sell people incendiary devices, basically? Anyway, just some of the things we could be talking about. What's important to you? We'll talk about it here.
Yes.
Coming up this morning, the backlash continues over plans to force children to wear face masks in school. but with figures showing a fall in the number of new COVID cases, do you think that is fair? Speaking to the Education Secretary, Nadeem Zawai, later in the show. So we're interested to know your views on that, because you could say, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? Wear the mask, kids, get on with it. But I think there's a perception, Isabel, that it's a bit of discrimination, really.
Well, it's a bit of an intergenerational inequality, because the oldies, they're still going to the pub, aren't they, over 18s? They're still going to football matches, they're going to work. They don't have to wear a mask. But hey, the youngsters who've, we know, been cooped up, suffered with their exams, they now have to wear them all day.
It keeps their teachers safe.
Keeps their teachers. The unions are happy about it.
Yeah.
Also this morning, as most of us enjoyed ringing in the New Year, some of our favourite furry friends didn't fare well, as Eamonn was saying this morning. We were talking about how fireworks really can disrupt.
We should tell you how to get in touch. It's gbviews at gbnews.uk. So it's gbviews at gbnews.co.uk.
Yeah, that's the one.
Or you can tweet at GBNews.
Yeah, you should know by now all of our little email and Twitter accounts, but if not, there you have it. We want, as I say, we want to hear from you this morning.
We're starting with these fireworks, actually, because over the weekend I tweeted, and this was my actual tweet. Now, just since we started on this, we might as well go on. And I said, can't go out tonight. And Mrs. Holmes was desperate. She had glad rags on and everything. And she likes a night out, does our Ruth. But she says, we couldn't go out because I fear our beautiful dog is about to take a heart attack. Aww. Awful fireworks going off. And they were awful, Isabel. Are you worried about the effects on your pet, on farm animals, on wildlife? And it has a lot of you fired up this morning.
Yeah, Tom Clayton got in touch. I'm torn, to be honest. I'm with you on this, actually, Tom. I get why we have them, but kills me to see my dog shivering in a corner, not having the courage to drink or eat for a week in November and on New Year's Eve. I'm worried if it has any long-term effects, but wouldn't call for a total ban. I think commercial use, yes. Residential, no.
Kelly Walker, I much preferred it when fireworks went off on bonfire night and for bonfire night alone.
Tim Reynolds says fireworks do not frighten all pets. I had 2 little rescue dogs live with me for 11 years. They were not bothered at all by the loud noises caused by fireworks going off close by. If your pets are affected, turn the radio or TV set up loud to lessen the effects, I suggest.
Well, you can suggest away, Mr. Tom, but basically, good for you that your animals aren't affected. And not every animal is affected, it has to be said. But I can tell you, there's lots of things you can do. You can put on these thunder jackets. You can put up the music.
What's a thunder jacket?
Well, it makes the animal feel more secure. It's almost like being hugged.
Okay.
And it works very...
Did Maggie have a thunder jacket on?
She did have a thunder jacket on.
Maggie is Eamonn's dog, in case you're not aware.
You'll be needing a thunder jacket working with me, I'll tell you. Oh, I should tell you that we are very familiar with each other because we have worked together.
We have.
Before.
We've done this. It's not our first rodeo.
It's not our first. No, it is. But hopefully it's not our last as well. Right. Secondary school pupils in England will be wearing masks in the classroom from this week, but not their teachers.
Yeah, pupils will also need to be tested before coming back from the Christmas break. But just yesterday, ministers said there was nothing in the current COVID data to suggest more curbs like these were needed in England.
OK, GB News North West of England reporter, that's Bradley Harris, has been on your doorstep asking about masks in schools. Let's find out what he found out from Altrincham. I used to live in the Altrincham Road, incidentally, Tom, tell you that. But anyway, tell me about your guests and what they're saying.
Yeah, good morning, Eamonn and Isabel. Happy New Year to you both. I've come to Altrincham, as you say, beautiful town in Greater Manchester. We've come to one of the streets here because, of course, we want to get your reaction at home to some of the big news stories on GB News in the coming weeks and months ahead. Of course, one big story is on face masks in secondary schools. The Education Secretary, Nadeem Zahawi, has said that these measures, face coverings in schools, will continue until the 26th of January. That's when the Plan B measures are expected to come to an end. Of course, there'll be a review in place, but we want to find out from you guys at home. And I've come to this address here, this home. This is where Yasmin Rahouf lives. She's a mother of 2 kids. Let's, well, I hope she's in. Here we go. Yasmin. Morning, Yasmin. Love that. And you've got a cup of tea. That's for me, is it? That's for me. Look at that. She's even brought a cup of tea for me. Thank you so much. Look at that. Thanks so much for joining us. us on our brand new breakfast show this morning. Just want to ask you about this story on face coverings then in schools. You've got 2 children. What do you think of this? Should they be wearing them? Should they not?
Well, my boys are 7 and 8 years old, so they're still in primary school. For me, I feel like kids' expressions need to be seen, so face coverings would cover their expressions, and it would really hide if they've got any anxiety and stuff. So maybe, yes, for high school kids, but for younger kids, I'm not really comfortable with it, but I do understand with the new Omicron it might be necessary. But yeah, I wouldn't really like my kids to be wearing face masks.
Well, you mentioned the Omicron variant there. That's one of the reasons why the government is saying we need to try and bring in face coverings again for secondary school pupils. But actually, you've been there with the kids. You know, you have been doing, I imagine, home schooling as well. Do you want to see face-to-face teaching back, or did you prefer homeschooling?
No, absolutely. Face-to-face schooling all the way for me. I just think the new variant is a lot more, milder, and a lot more people have got the booster. So it's something that we need to try and control, but I don't think we should stop society as we did before. I just think it will be too much for the kids. You know, they've already got anxiety levels quite high, and they need to get back to normality, but with safe precautions, of course.
Yeah, and obviously we've just had Christmas and New Year. Just talk to me about that. How were the celebrations? Any face masks inside?
Well, I took my kids to watch Aladdin at the Opera House, and they absolutely loved it. We kept it low key, but they really enjoyed it. We kept our face masks on during the show. Well, I did anyway. And yeah, I think it was a quiet one, but not so restricted as previous ones.
And just what do you want to see from the government now then? As we head into a new year, 2022, we obviously, I think I can speak for everyone, where we don't want to see any more of this pandemic. What are you hoping for from the government?
A clearer guideline would help. I think, there's so many chops and changes, last minute decisions. I think, we've got amazing scientists, we've got amazing doctors, they should really plan ahead and, try and get the best out of society running as smoothly as possible rather than having all these changes so quickly,
Brilliant. Well, Yasmin Shah-Rahouf, really good to chat to you. Thanks for the tea as well. I'll make it a good colour, that. I love that. Thank you very much. Good to chat to you. So that is Yasmin Shah-Rahouf here in Altrincham, giving us her views and opinions on the big news stories this morning.
Yeah. Sure, it was good to talk to her. That was a nice surprise.
She was very good, wasn't she?
In many ways, But good story there from Yasmin. And as a mum, I want to affect her work because she's had to take time off and homeschooling. You're a big fan of homeschooling?
Never again.
There you go.
Please.
I always thought I could have been a teacher in life.
Until I tried lockdown 1, and it was the hardest thing in the world. But what I took away from that is my own child's teacher said that her children didn't listen to her during lockdown either. So it's just a mother-child relationship. You shouldn't be their teacher and their mother. But it's interesting. Anyway, on this topic, let's go to Westminster now. Our national reporter, Paul Hawkins, has more on all of this. Paul, it's just 48 hours until many schools reopen, or even less now. Where are we? 24 hours until some schools are opening. And these plans coming in quite last minute. And a little bit of anger. I think it's the front of the Telegraph this morning saying there's a backlash at masks in schools because the cases are easing. And there seems to be this generational inequality. We've got the youngsters being forced
but the
to wear
cases
masks.
won't be easing if all these children don't wear masks because they're the super
evidence
spreaders.
that the masks work? And that's what is being asked. So take it away, Paul.
Yeah, very good morning to you, Eamonn and Isabel. Listen, I think the government's worried that teachers, if they test positive, they're going to have to self-isolate. And when a teacher has to self-isolate, then it takes a whole class out, doesn't it? And that's why the Education Secretary, Nazim Zahawi, wrote to schools yesterday suggesting that maybe you might have to look at merging classrooms, that we will be asking pupils to take lateral flow tests on site tomorrow before they start the new term. How's that going to work logistically? Difficult for schools when they're given such short notice. Are there enough lateral flow tests at school? I know it's impossible to get one through the government website posted to you at home, that website telling you to go and get one from a pharmacy. I haven't been able to get one from a pharmacy for 2 or 3 weeks. And if you even want to go for a PCR test at the moment, I know in the northeast of England it's very difficult to get one. So there's logistical requirements when it comes to testing. They're asking pupils to wear these face masks. Interestingly, one senior Conservative MP, Robert Halfon, who chairs the Education Select Committee, has said, listen, there could be a serious effects on kids' mental health, and we need to balance the minimal risks of COVID to children against the effect it could have on their learning, their development, their emotional well-being. He said the Children's Minister had been to see him and said that there were no studies that have shown that face masks make a significant difference. But scientists, on the whole, they are disagreeing with that and saying there is enough of an improvement in infection rates if kids wear face masks. So they are saying that it is worth wearing face masks in school in conjunction with all the other measures such as washing hands, etc. But the idea is to keep teachers and kids in the same classroom instead of having to learn from home. Certainly a lot of parents I know, they weren't there, or at least it's anecdotal, but certainly listening to Bradley there and yourself and lots of other friends who have teachers who have kids that are in secondary school, they certainly don't want to go back to homeschooling. And then of course there's a knock-on effect for parents who then have to be at home, who can't be in the workplace, which puts businesses in a really difficult position, which they are in already.
Paul, thanks very much indeed. Front pages of the papers, they are saying, the Mirror, first of all, there's an emergency in the NHS due to COVID infections. They say 1 in 10 staff absent from work on New Year's Eve. Daily Telegraph reflecting the situation in schools with backlash at masks. In schools as cases ease, they say. Some Conservative MPs have called for a rethink over the plan to force children to wear these masks throughout the school day as infection levels seemingly drop. Daily Express goes with Boris holding his nerve as the NHS feels the strain. They say that the Prime Minister won't introduce further restrictions because officials believe that data on Omicron indicates they're not yet necessary. Here's the Mail. A look at the cost of living crisis, saying that pressure is building on the Prime Minister over escalating energy bills. Now, I know this is something that is actually affecting so many of you, and so many of you have got something to say about this. Tell us your stories, gbviews at gbnews.uk, or tweet at gbnews. Now, Boris Johnson facing demands to honour a Brexit campaign pledge to scrap VAT on fuel, and that would take 60 quid off an annual utility bill. Times leading with ministers confident new curbs not needed. It quotes a senior member of the cabinet who says the public have already made significant changes to behaviour to protect themselves. Also focusing on schools, here's The Guardian. The government has told head teachers to merge classes to cope with staff off sick. Heads have also been told to use support staff and allow some classes to be taught remotely. Daily Star says we're set for a polar plunge with the country facing temperatures as low as -10. It says the cold weather will start to bite from today, and of course that again impacts on heating bills, and some people really having to make a choice of whether literally to heat or eat. In the studio to talk about those stories and more, the choreographer, which lessons exactly what he is, because he's a man, he's everything. It's Kevin Adams. He's a broadcaster, he is a nutritionist. Have I left anything out?
No, that sounds great.
Yeah, and he has plenty of opinions, plenty of opinions. And broadcasting legend, Jenny Murray, here beside me.
Hello.
Hello.
Lovely to see you.
Very lovely to see you. Now, listen, this whole business about masks in school, first of all, I started out and I thought, look, what's the big deal? Where are the blooming things? What's wrong? What do you think about this?
I hate them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as you get older and your hearing starts to go a little bit.
Sorry?
Yeah, you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. This is not obviously going to affect most children in school, but that sense that you can't read somebody's lips if they're wearing a mask. I have suffered enormously over the last, it's 2 years of just having to, sorry?
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah.
Because you can't see someone's face.
But I suppose the teachers aren't wearing the masks, so should that not help?
That would help, I'm sure, because at least they will know what they're being taught, one hopes. But it's just being there with your friends and not being able to see their face properly. Yeah. I mean, and where is the evidence that really masks do work?
And the idea might be, though, that it's keeping the teachers safe so that their numbers don't fall.
Well, maybe, but
But you're looking for the data.
I am looking for the data that says, yes, masks work, and I haven't yet found it.
Okay, Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think we need the data. We just need to say, OK, wear the masks when you're in school. But the thing is, though, when a child gets to the school gate, knock off, mask off, walk out the door, hugging their friends, close proximity. The older you get, the more spatially aware you get. So we're aware of personal space, and a child is not aware of personal space. So therefore, yes, wear the mask. The thing that bothers me is that once they leave the school playground or they leave the school premises, they take off their mask. They revert back to how they were. They're in close, they're hugging, they're kissing, they're watching each other facially, and as you do, you want to interact with your friends. And I hear you. The hearing part really, it's annoying. There has to...
It's more than annoying.
Well,
it's infuriating.
To lessen the particles leaving your body, you have to wear a mask. It does lessen. It lessens it to a certain extent. There's no... there is evidence. But it's evident when you look at people in hospital, you look at surgeons when they're in hospital, to stop transmission of infection, they wear a mask. So they do work.
Do you know what? How are they going to enforce this in school? You could hardly get kids to wear their school tie or, their proper uniform or whatever. What are they going to do if they don't wear them or there's a breach of the rules?
Put them in detention.
Detention. Do they still do detention?
And they'll have to, I don't know, they'll have to wear the mask for even longer if they have to go into detention. Well, I suppose they'll have to.
Let me tell you a story. Once I was going to school, this was grammar school, right? And my bus I was travelling in was hijacked. I'll cut a long story short, but three armed guys jumped on and they petrol bombed the bus, and that was it. And I ran a mile or so down to school, up the path, or the driveway, and there was my headmaster standing at the top. He was a priest and he was reading his morning prayers. And I said, Father, I was on a bus and it was burnt down by terrorists. They get in and there's the smoke. Father, look, it's all happening there, but it's about to blow up, whatever. And I said, but it's okay, Father, I'm here. And he said, detention. That was it. Nowadays, I would have a counsellor. I'd be put in care, probably. I would have counsellors around me seeing me post-traumatic stress or whatever, but that's the way it is. Now, tell me good things about dogs. Tell me what's about dogs.
No, it's not a good thing.
Oh, right.
It's that the Kennel Club is up in arms because people are giving their dogs really, really expensive treats. One of them is called canine caviar. And that is... I mean, I've got 2 dogs. I used to have 3. I lost one in the summer this year, who is missed terribly. His name was Butch, and he's gone now. And he would eat absolutely anything.
Anything.
The other 2 are very pleased to have a very cheap treat every so often. And good food. They are Chihuahuas, so they don't eat an awful lot, so they don't cost me a huge amount of money, it has to be said. But the idea of spending more money than you would spend on human treats for your dogs just seems crazy. And what the Kennel Club has said is the real treat you can give your dog is a good walk.
Right.
And I agree with that.
You agree with that, okay. Kevin?
Yeah, I don't agree. You love your dog, you give it what you want. You love your children, you give them what you want. You love yourself, you eat what you want. It's
That's called spoiling.
No, it's called indulgence. We're allowed to indulge. We can. I'm a registered nutritionist. If I want to indulge, I love apple pie. I went away for the weekend. I won't tell you where, because I'm not going to name check Soho Farmhouse, but I was at Soho Farmhouse, and I had the apple pie, just beautiful apple pie, custard. They bought this little piece of custard, and I was like, do you mind bringing the jug? And they went down, whips up some more. I like it. It's what I like. I indulge. And if you want to give your dog a treat, it's not, as long as it's not every day and it's not copious amounts of excess, then do it.
The only thing I would caution against, feed the dog caviar if that's what you want to do, but don't feed it Watsits. I'll tell you from my... It never comes out of the carpet. I'll just tell you that. Right, now... We're talking about this, there's going to be a change in the weather. It's going to get very, very cold. And this really, I think, is going to be a big talking point for what's left of the winter and the spring. And this is fuel poverty.
Terrifying. absolutely terrifying. I mean, you and I can probably manage to pay as the bills go up, but so many people can't. The most horrific statistic that I read this morning is that one elderly person dies every 7 minutes in a cold winter. And people can't afford to turn their heating on. So some sort of assistance has to be given.
What about some sort of
fuel.
rethink about the way we treat the climate and, all the recent rafts of proposals and us being taxed upon how much carbon we use? Does it need a rethink?
Yeah, we do need a rethink. I do look back, I have to say, to my childhood, and I'm sure yours. I used to wake up in the morning and there was ice on the inside of the windows.
Yeah.
And my grandparents did survive that. But then, they had coal. They had coal fires. That's how they heated their house. But that was such hard work. We've become so
We're
used.
too soft. We're very
We maybe
soft.
are too soft.
We really are. We don't wrap up. I remember growing up as a child, my mum would say, wrap up, put a coat on, put a hat on, everything would be on. And now you get in, the days of the house coat, you'd get in, you'd put your dressing gown on. I'd love my...
Did you wear a Liberty bodice?
No, I did not.
I bet you did.
But
with a little button at the top.
We had Liberty bodices.
Well, what was the
which went
difference
on
between a
first.
Liberty bodice and a vest?
I don't know. But the Liberty bodice, I think the vest just had a round neck and
It was
no
heavy
sleeves.
duty. Liberty bodice was
The
heavy
Liberty bodice was heavy duty.
Yeah.
It had
Yeah.
sleeves and was buttoned up the front and was quite a thick material. And it certainly kept you warm. Maybe we need to reintroduce Liberty bodices.
Or just rethink how we approach winter.
Oh,
right. There should be some form of payment.
Just holiday.
There should be some form of assistance for people that fall into fuel poverty.
OK, some good points to talk about there. Thank you very much indeed. Is this the news you want to hear? Is this what's affecting you? Get in touch. Let us know.
There we go. That is the first hour of our brand new show done. Plenty more coming your way this morning on Breakfast with Eamonn and Isabel, including we're going to be talking about holidays. The pandemic, of course, has driven a coach and horses through many of our travel plans over the last couple of years. Where can you go? Where is it safe to book? We'll have all the details for you in a few moments. But first of all, here's your forecast.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Well, looking ahead to today's weather, and the UK is looking showery for many, with colder air working its way southwards over northern areas. Let's take a look at some of the details. Well, many of the showers should have eased from southwest England, but it will be a generally cloudy and breezy picture with rain not too far off the south coast. A similar story for London and the southeast, with a fair amount of dry, if rather cloudy weather around on Monday lunchtime. Still on the mild side, though. Scattered showers will be affecting much of Wales, with brightest weather further north and cloudier skies in the south. Temperatures there up to around 11 Celsius. Then bright skies for much of the Midlands, though a few showers are likely towards Herefordshire and Shropshire. Temperatures there at lunchtime up to around 9 or 10 Celsius for many areas, with a brisk southwesterly wind. Some sunshine for much of Yorkshire, but we'll run into thicker cloud towards County Durham and Northumberland, with some patchy rain arriving on the scene by lunchtime. Temperatures by now back into single figures. And the weather front bringing about the change to colder weather that will be sat over central and southern Scotland at lunchtime, with temperatures continuing to fall throughout the afternoon. And that same weather front will then be making inroads into the north of Ireland, but at this stage it should still be dry and perhaps quite bright for Belfast and Armagh. Rain and hill snow coming south into northern England this evening and becoming very windy with snow showers in northern Scotland. And that's how the weather is shaping up for the rest of your bank holiday Monday.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello there, I'm Eamonn.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farrar, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamonn Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamonn
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Your New Look breakfast on GB News. It's also 7 o'clock on January the 3rd. Most people are off today, except us.
Yeah, this is Breakfast with Eamonn and with me, Isabel Webster. The band back together.
Back together. Thank you very much indeed for your comments so far this morning. Thank you for tuning in. It's an absolute great compliment because there's no point doing it if you're not watching. So spread the word, phone your friends. Be absolutely shameless about it. We need you watching, okay?
And from tomorrow, you'll be able to listen to us on the radio as well. So
Yes.
if you're going about your morning, getting ready at home, have us on the TV, hop in the car, stick us on the radio.
Yes.
You can't escape us. We're everywhere.
It makes us buy something, I'm not sure. Not B-U-I, it means it's buy.
Buy, yeah, buy.
We're buy,
buy
anyway,
broadcast.
or simultaneous, maybe that's the word.
Simulcasting, there you go.
We're
There you go.
simulcasters. That's what we do, radio and television. This morning, coming up, anger over plans to force children to wear face masks in schools, despite figures showing a fall in the number of new COVID cases. Is this fair, or should they just get over themselves? We're going to be speaking to the Education Secretary later in the show. So if you've got something to say on this, please do get in touch. gbviews@gbnews.uk or tweet @gbnews.
2021 was a year to forget for many of us. It was a terrible year for the hospitality industry. But will this be a better year? We'll be speaking to a pub and restaurant owner as well.
Did you go to any pubs over the holidays?
I sat outside a pub on Boxing Day.
What, just thinking about it?
No, just had a drink outside with my husband and my little boy. Yeah. But I didn't go in because I was scared to get ill and miss the launch of our show. I've been very cautious all Christmas.
Well, it's paid off.
It's paid off. I'm here. Woo!
Right, good. GB News North West of England reporter Bradley Harris is live for us this morning on your doorstep. We saw him enjoying the doorstep with a lady called Yasmin early on. Yes, off you go.
Of Great Britain. I'm visiting the streets of Great Britain to find out your reaction to the big news stories of the day.
Thank you, Bradley. And where are you planning to go on holiday this year?
We want to hear about your favourite holiday spots and some of your dream destinations. Let us know what your dreams are for a little bit of sunshine in 2022.
Yeah, I think the best holiday I ever had was in Turkey.
I've never been.
Yeah, I hadn't been either, and it was... You ever been to... No, you obviously haven't been to Istanbul. No. Istanbul's a magical place.
No, my husband's been, and he said it was truly mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Sort of
it's also very smelly
cultures
as well, but that's part of it. It is.
Yeah, a bit like Venice. Venice is a bit stinky. Let's not go down the road of stinky destinations.
No, but it was part of the whole atmosphere. It's like why I like Cairo as well, because it's slightly mad.
Yeah.
And so
there's a whole other segment to be had there. What's the maddest destination you've been to? Delhi is mad. I've been to Delhi in India. That was pretty bold.
But I mean, somewhere like Portugal's hard to beat. You know, the
you can't be. Just the Mediterranean coast. I love the south of France. But what about going further afield? Have you been abroad this Christmas?
No, I haven't been abroad for 2.5 years.
I have quite a few times.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Well, good for you. But anyway, look, get involved this morning. We really do want to hear from you, and as a whole New Look show, we're going to be doing things a bit different. And the most important thing we want to do are stories that matter to you. So how do people get in touch, Isabel?
They get in touch on email gbviews@gbnews.uk, or you can tweet us at gbnews. We want to hear not only about the stories that matter to you, we want to find out about the things that are really winding you up. We also want to celebrate your communities. The good news stories as well are going to be absolutely key to our brand new show.
Saying earlier that fireworks matter to me, and fireworks and how they impinge on animals generally, domestic animals, wildlife as well. And here's what you're saying about that. Rowan, first of all, says that fireworks should be banned for general public use. Displays are amazing. They should be able to go ahead, says Rowan. My pet was terrified on New Year's Eve.
Paul in Mansfield says, don't forget about the people with heart disease and nervous disposition. There's a family living near me that lets off fireworks for any celebration they can think of. The police are too busy checking our tweets rather than stopping them. Do you know, that's also an argument that's put for people with PTSD back from the war, from various wars, who do apparently get triggered by fireworks. But I have to hold my hand up. I was one of those people that was setting fireworks off on New Year's Eve. Early doors, I have to admit, because we've got little ones, but it was to entertain the kids. I hadn't even thought about what Eamonn lambasted me for a couple of days ago, which is the dogs. I don't have a dog.
I grew up in Belfast in the 70s, and what sounds like fireworks to you sounds like gunshots to me.
Yeah, so you hate them as well as Maggie, your dog.
Look, I can be nervous of some sort of noises or shots or projectiles, but basically that's what you're selling to people. You are selling incendiary devices to people and trusting them with it.
Well, somebody tweeted earlier saying in France they have silent fireworks, so why don't we bring those in? I mean, do you feel as a firework, you know, have you ever attended a fireworks show? Do you feel as though the noise is part of this spectacle? You know, you stand there and pop goes the firework. Would it be the same if it was silent? I feel like it.
Well, I've never heard the silent ones. So don't know. Don't know. Anyway, you know, look, I know people associate it with fun and all sorts of things like that, but honestly, to see an animal, be it a horse, be it a cow, be it a dog, be it a cat, that is so frightened and has no idea how to deal with all of this. So, and the other thing, I don't mind Guy Fawkes night, bit of Halloween, New Year's Eve, whatever, but people let them off.
Weddings.
For all sorts of blooming reasons.
Yeah. So where do you stand on fireworks this morning? Pam had a proposal. She said only the noiseless fireworks could be sold for private use and keep the noisy ones for the big events.
Yes.
That's a thought.
I think we're all about that. Next, we want to know, have you taken down your Christmas decorations yet? I have not.
I have.
But I can't now because I have
done your back in.
Yes, I have conditions that will prevent me from getting
here we
involved
go.
in this.
Yeah, well, I actually think my husband put his back out doing it on Saturday, taking the tree down. He's been in agony ever since. But our living room's on the first floor, so we have to carry our Christmas tree down a staircase and out onto the street. And that's another issue. Do you start to see these Christmas tree cemeteries littering the streets? All the kids are back to school tomorrow.
Christmas tree cemeteries, that's a great description.
Because you have to weave your way, where I live, to get your kids to school. You have to weave your way through all the Christmas trees, and it gets a bit annoying over the next couple of weeks. They
you know
take
what
forever
annoys
to
me?
collect
Wrapping paper. Wrapping paper
We're off,
presents.
aren't we?
Well, it's true. It's a waste. It's
it's bad for the environment.
But anyway, so basically, when do you plan to take your decorations down? Have you done it? What's your philosophy and all that? Because it's like, if you've put them up late, maybe you want to leave it a long time before you take them down again.
Put them up late, whip them down early. I'm not anti-Christmas. I'm all about Christmas, but it's the mess. I just want it out.
Well, it's behind us now. It's behind us. After 8 o'clock, we'll be reflecting what you say about all of that.
We will, indeed.
Meanwhile, secondary school pupils in England will be wearing masks in the classroom from this week, but not teachers.
Yeah, they will also need to be tested before coming back from the Christmas break. But just yesterday, ministers said there was nothing in the current COVID data to suggest more curbs like these were needed in England.
Well, GB News national reporter, that's Mr. Paul Hawkins, can tell us more on all of this. Paul, over to you.
Yeah, essentially, let's just to give you the latest COVID figures, Eamonn. So this is for England because this advice to schools only covers England. Of course, in Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales, they're already wearing face masks in school. In England, this would see the return of face masks for kids, wearing them all day. That hasn't happened since May. So for England, 123,547 COVID cases. That's a 24% drop on the day before, but that does follow 5 successive days of rising infection rates. So that's why the government's worried about teachers having to self-isolate if they catch Omicron, and then effectively kids then having to stay at home. So kids are being asked to wear face masks. It has caused a bit of upset, especially amongst the Conservative Party. Sir Ian Duncan-Smith calling it premature. Robert Halfon, the chair of the Education Select Committee, pointing out that there needs to be a balance between the minimal risks of COVID to kids versus their emotional well-being, and indeed how they get educated if they're wearing a face mask. So scientist-wise, Dr. Helen Salisbury, however, has pointed to studies in the US and Europe which shows that COVID rates in schools and the surrounding communities falls when kids wear masks. But Professor Russell Viner, who also advises SAGE, that's the group of independent scientists that advise the government, he says that there are concerns about children's mental health and it needs to be kept under review. So a little bit of controversy over getting kids to wear face masks. The Education Secretary Nadeem Zahawi also asking schools to consider merging classes if teachers have to self-isolate, and also kids will have to get lateral flow tests before they start term tomorrow when they get to school, and then twice a week from home, which should be interesting given it's pretty difficult to get hold of a lateral flow test at the moment. You can't get one posted, at least when I checked on the government website about an hour ago, and if you want to get a PCR test, that's a little bit easier, although it is still quite difficult in the northeast of England.
Paul, thanks very much indeed. Let's continue on this subject now because, as Paul was reporting there, school pupils, secondary school pupils are being expected to wear masks this week. And we are going to talk more about that throughout the programme.
Yeah, we've got Nadeem Zahawi coming on in the next hour, so stay tuned our way. We'll be putting all your thoughts to him on whether or not you're happy about your kids, or indeed maybe you are one of those who will be having to wear face masks in schools. Let us know. Now, a legal document Prince Andrew's lawyers hope will end the civil sex case against him is going to be made public. His legal team says his accuser, Virginia Giffray, entered into a settlement agreement in 2009 with the Duke of York's former friend and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, which will end her claim against the Prince.
Hundreds of thousands of people have signed a petition calling for Sir Tony Blair not to be a Sir. To be stripped of his knighthood. The former Prime Minister was included in the New Year's honours list, but critics say the invasion of Iraq makes him unsuitable for the Queen's highest honour.
New figures show lockdown activities led to thousands more people attending hospital. Repeated restrictions meant many turned to DIY, getting new pets or outdoor pursuits. And according to the figures, it led to over 8,000 accidents with tools, 7,000 dog bites and more than 5,000 people falling from playground equipment. So there you have it.
GB News North West of England reporter Bradley Harris has been on various people's doorsteps this morning, whether they wanted him or not, asking about masks in schools. OK, Bradley, you're in Altrincham, which is on the outskirts of Manchester. And what are your thoughts on, people you've been talking to so far this morning?
Yeah, good morning, Eamonn and Isabel. I have come to the streets of Altrincham. If we just pan the camera around, you can actually see a milk float that is just coming down the street to drop off milk bottles to people's doorsteps. I've also, as you say, been on people's doorsteps, finding out what people think about the big news stories of the day. We've been talking about face coverings in secondary schools. You heard from Yasmin Rahouf, that mum of 2 kids. She's keen for things to get back to normal. She says that she wants the government to be clear on what they they want from people. She wants clear guidance. She thinks things are still a bit confusing, even 2 years on from the start of the pandemic. That's also the case with other people on this street as well. There was a woman who was doing the paper round a little earlier. She thinks that actually, yes, we've got an Omicron variant. Yes, we need to try and protect people. But she says with the vaccine and also with case numbers rising, but deaths not as big as they were this time last year, she feels that we need to start getting our lives back to normal and having children back in classes doing face-to-face teaching as normal again. Of course, we're going to be hearing from Nadeem Zahawi a little bit later as well, the Education Secretary, about what he thinks on this and why this new measure is coming into place until the 26th of January. But certainly people here in Altrincham are very keen for life to get back to normal.
Yeah, watch you don't get knocked down by that milk float. It's nice to see. Milk floats very...
Oh,
There seem to be too many of them
reminds
about
me of
now.
my youth.
Yeah, very, very nice. Glass bottles and all that.
Yeah, I've never seen one before. I've actually never... This is a very traditional milk float, Eamonn, dropping off...
Yes, I know. I've seen them before.
Bottles. Have you seen them before?
Yeah, we both have.
I used to work on one.
Hello.
All right. Yeah.
You're live on
As the
GB
milkman.
News, by the way. We're just admiring your milk float. We've been talking about face coverings in secondary schools for pupils. Just want to get your thoughts on this, if you don't mind. Do you think children should be wearing face coverings in secondary schools at the moment?
Yeah, because that's where there's no jabs for the youngsters, so that's where the disease is spreading.
So you think it's actually quite a good restriction to have from the government at the moment with the new variant?
Yeah.
What are you hoping as we head into 2022 now? Do you want to see life back to normal?
Well, what's normal?
These days, yeah.
Yeah, it's... I mean, they've had these pandemics before, and they've just sort of got on with it, haven't they? Everyone's being jabbed, just hoping that does the job.
Also, can I just say, I thought I was the only person working in Altrincham on Bank Holiday Monday. When did your shift start this morning?
11 o'clock last night.
Oh, right, OK. And you're still up. I'm just running low on a bit of milk, so do you mind if I just grab a quick semi-skimmed?
Yeah, of course.
Is that all right? There we are. Look at this. Live on GB News. This is
traditional glass.
Traditional glass. You won't get this anywhere else, and free of charge. The spirit of the north of England.
Dreamline Dairy.
Well
Good
done.
to chat to you. There we go.
Well
I mean, you
done.
never know what you're going to get this morning, do you?
Good. Let's hear it for the milk floats. Very good, Bradley. Thank you very much indeed. No, I did used to work on a milk float.
Did you?
I was probably 11 or 12 at the time, and it put me off milk for life.
Oh, gosh.
Because there's nothing as bad as the smell of curdled milk.
Why was the milk you were delivering curdling?
Because there would always be leakage, right? So there'd be leakage.
Oh,
on
so
the
it was sort of
back.
at the bottom of the tray?
Yes.
Oh,
And the smell of it when it was in the cab.
oh maybe it's a good thing then that they've all gone. But I quite like the glass bottles on the doorstep and the little...
The clinking.
Yeah, it's lovely.
And, I mean, basically they're just big golf carts.
Yeah.
That's what they sound like as well.
Yeah. They're never going to come back, are they? Thing of the past.
I think you're wrong. We get more home deliveries than ever before of things.
That's true. And, you know, as we become more environmentally conscious, maybe more people
And
will
as
be
we
moving
become
back
lazier.
to glass. Yeah, that's true.
People
No
don't
one
want
wants
to go
walk to the
anywhere and
shops.
do their own work.
Indeed.
I can now sit on Deliveroo and order my groceries.
Yeah.
But I can't tell my wife because she thinks
She's watching, so you just did.
No, she says, and I want a loaf of bread and I want this particular type of bread and I want this and I want that. And I say, yeah, I'll get it. Then she goes out the door and I just do the delivery.
So she's asked you to pop to the shops and you've just done the short...
Well, what difference
you
does it
pay
make?
through the nose to do that.
Do you?
Yeah.
Is that the difference?
Of course you do. Yeah, they ramp up the charge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. But she also objects to me buying any food in garage shops as well.
That's also more expensive.
Yeah. But it's very convenient.
It is convenient, yeah, that's true. There you go. You never need to take a step down the street ever again. Look, let's turn our attention on now to, of course, we just had New Year's Eve. Luckily for us here in England, the festive period was relatively restriction-free. But did that mean you went out to celebrate, or is Omicron still just simply too scary? Well, here to give us an industry perspective is Michael Kill, CEO of the Nighttime Industries Association. Really good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Look, a really disappointing festive period, whether you were in England or not, presumably much, much worse, though, of course, in Northern Ireland, Wales and Scotland. How bad, or indeed otherwise, has this period been for you?
It's been hugely challenging, as you can appreciate. I mean, leading up to New Year's Eve, which luckily we were able to trade, it pretty much decimated the festive period. The narrative from government around socialising created some real sort of tension and concern within consumers. And that led to cancellations of bookings, people not showing for gigs, and no shows at restaurants. And on average, I think each unit lost, according to a poll that we carried out, about £46,000 per unit, which is a huge amount of money when you're looking to use that to survive in the early part of 2022.
Yeah, and not least when you compare it with the support that Rishi Sunak's offered. I think it was £1 billion, wasn't it, which equated to something like £6,000 per pub. It doesn't even touch the sides, as you describe.
No, it doesn't. I mean, £6,000 is for some businesses the amount of money they would lose in a night. Bearing in mind that on average, most of them are around £230,000 in debt due to the pandemic, particularly things like nightclubs who have been closed for a big part of that period. So it's hugely challenging. And I think that the issue we have is proportionality and a real understanding of things like cost inflation.
Yeah, well, look, how hopeful are you about the short-term ability to recoup some of the losses that your industry has suffered? Because so many people tighten their belts in January, don't they? Omicron or not, many people also want to be a bit healthier. They do things like dry January. It's not going to be a quick recovery this time.
No, I mean, we're estimating that this has pushed back recovery by about 6 months. As you can appreciate, with dry January, it's creating some bigger issues. So I think there's a real sort of push for people to support their local pubs and their local sort of cultural businesses like live gigs, electronic music, events, etc. So I think it's really important that people step up. As you can appreciate, I mean, these businesses have done everything they can to support the public health strategy and continue to do so. So I think they've played their part, and we really hope that the customers can see how much effort there's been put in and how highly regulated they are and safe they are to go out and enjoy a social evening or an event or night out, particularly as it's so important to people's well-being.
Yeah, really wise words. And of course, if you are doing things like dry January, you can do that and have alternative drinks. You don't have to avoid your pub altogether. Michael Kilt, CEO of the Nighttime Industries Association. Always good to have you on GB News. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Has flooded in. You don't do the shopping on Deliveroo. You just get treats for you. And see the fact that that's capital letters.
Capital letters, Ruth. You called it.
Mark.
Yeah,
Anyway.
you can't get away with saying that. She's watching.
Let's take a break. Coming up, are you thinking of finally going on that sunny getaway, or can't you be bothered? Top
Doesn't that
tips,
look lovely?
Travel.
Look at
Coming
that.
up with travel expert Simon Calder. But first, the weather.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Well, looking ahead to today's weather, and the UK is looking showery for many, with colder air working its way southwards over northern areas. Let's take a look at the details. Well, many of the showers should have eased from southwest England, but it will be a generally cloudy and breezy picture with rain not too far off the south coast. There's a similar story for London and the southeast, with a fair amount of dry, if rather cloudy weather around on Monday lunchtime. Still on the mild side, though. Scattered showers will be affecting much of Wales, with brightest weather further north and cloudier skies in the south. Temperatures there up to around 11 Celsius. Then bright skies for much of the Midlands, though a few showers are likely towards Herefordshire and Shropshire. Temperatures at lunchtime up to 9 or 10 Celsius for many areas, with a brisk southwesterly wind. Some sunshine then for much of Yorkshire, but will run into thicker cloud towards County Durham and Northumberland, with some patchy rain arriving on the scene by lunchtime. Temperatures by now back into single figures. And the weather front bringing about the change to colder weather will be sat over central and southern Scotland at lunchtime, with temperatures continuing to fall through the afternoon. And that same weather front then taking inroads into the north of Northern Ireland, but at that stage it should still be dry and perhaps quite bright for Belfast and Armagh. Rain and hill snow coming south into northern England then this evening, and becoming very windy with snow showers in northern Scotland. And that's how your weather is shaping up for the rest of your bank holiday Monday.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
The world of travel. A funny old world. A world that's not easy to navigate. In fact, where do we even start?
We might might go to one place to find where we want to go, and another
to get it all together. And then somewhere completely different
to book it. What planet have we been on?
Looking for a simpler way of booking travel? Welcome to Orbsy. Welcome to one beautiful, intuitive app that lets you dream, plan, and book your next trip all in one place. Welcome to a more joined-up world.
Do you dream of stepping out in style or escaping to luxury? Fifth Avenue is the new competition site which offers high-end items and experiences and prizes you really want. From beauty and fashion to lifestyle and wellness, travel and experiences. Simply pick the competitions you'd like to enter, choose how many tickets you want, answer the question, then wait for the live drawing. Visit fifthavenue.co.uk today and turn your luck into luxury.
Open goal is the ultimate garden football goal. It stops balls going over and rebounds missed shots. As seen on Dragon's Den and a winner at the ISPO Awards 2019. It's a goal, backstop and rebounder all in one.
They think it's gone over. It hasn't now.
This is the big month when so many people think ahead to their holidays, when they have off, where they're going to go to, and they do those bookings. I certainly know for Christmas, every year I say this.
Never again.
Well, yes, never again, because I've always been at home and I want to go away somewhere. I don't mind going somewhere, you know, that's snowy and lovely and old Switzerlandy like and whatever.
Yeah.
But you quite like the idea of sunshine.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but my social media grids have just been full of people in Jamaica, the Maldives, Thailand, Barbados. And I just thought, you know what, next year, I'm 40 this year, and my husband's 40. I'm 40, 6 months before my husband, so we thought we'd do a joint Christmas getaway next year for both of us, somewhere, you know, we wouldn't normally go. And perhaps somewhere, well, maybe the Maldives, but it, you know, it's pricey, so we'll...
Never been.
No, neither have I. And yeah, Cher, you're a bit nervous about the Maldives.
Well, say there was a big wave, right?
Say there was a tsunami.
Wouldn't even take that. There's no hills, there's nothing.
I'd take my chances.
We've got top travel expert Simon Calder with us now. I'm sure you have been there, Simon.
I have. I would most definitely steer you actually to a much better island in terms of, well, you mentioned no hills, Sri Lanka. Same part of the world.
People often do Sri Lanka and the Maldives, don't they, as a sort of package?
It's got so much going for it. Fantastic people, great scenery, fascinating culture. Maldives is fine if you just want to sit in your cabana by the water.
Well, I do really.
You do.
Yeah.
Does that not get a bit boring though?
Well,
I've not tried it.
It's fine until lunchtime, but then I'm kind of wanting to get out and about and meet people and so on. So, anyway. But,
well, we're at this situation, you know, people are itching. They want a bit of normality to come back. But where are we at travel-wise? What can you tell them?
Really good question, because today I really sense among a lot of people I've been speaking to over the weekend that people are there thinking, right, let's go. Let's start getting back to something like normal. And that's really exciting. There's still some people who are saying, 2022, I'm not going anywhere. But I think people are looking forward to it. However, there are going to be some really serious bumps in the road. We are still banned from going to France. It is inexplicable why we should be, because the French have got even more Omicron cases than we have starting every day. But that's what they're doing. From 11 o'clock tonight, we're allowed back into Germany, which is a move in the right direction. But in France, again, they're banning food and drink on the trains. So you go on a 5-hour train from Paris to Perpignan, you can't have your baguette and your brie.
Right, that's because you have to take your mask down and then...
So that they are putting on stronger rules, new testing rules come into effect in Cyprus tomorrow. So it's going to get quite messy and quite patchy, and we'll probably see more countries coming in with travel bans. But I think once things have slightly settled down, then we will see actually stuff opening up. The crucial thing is, after Christmas, after New Year. We all want something to look forward to, and normally that's a holiday. But the big question is, well, should you happily just go out and book yourself a trip, or would you be better to be
Well,
cautious?
here's my answer to that, and you'll know what it is. And I would say, not my problem, right? Because why am I doing the work on behalf of travel companies, whatever? And I happen to be a big advocate of travel agents.
Yes.
And therefore, you know, if something goes wrong, you like to think it's in professional hands to put it right.
Well, that is all the more in the case of in the time of coronavirus, because a travel agent will be your friend all the way through it, and a proper human travel agent will know when the rules are changing, what the tests you need are for coming back from Spain and so on. And so that is a really good idea. And if you book a proper package holiday, then you know either the trip will go ahead or you'll get your money back. So many families were going to go to the French Alps for some wonderful skiing over Christmas and New Year. The people who book package holidays probably already got their money back. People who book flights separately and accommodation and transfers are just in a right old muddle, I'm afraid.
Oh, well, you know what? You see the adverts switch, don't you? The minute Christmas is done, up pop all the Jet2 or whatever they are adverts, and it gets your juices flowing, get you excited for your holidays of 2022. Simon, thank you so much for taking
Sri Lanka.
through. Sri Lanka, write that down. What would be your top tip for the best deal? Where would we get our best value for money?
Well, best value for money this year is travelling out of school holidays. Anybody who can, then please do. And just the old favourites, Portugal, Spain, Greece and Turkey, of course, is going to be really good, because most of last year we were banned from it. Red
Love
list.
it. Simon, thank you.
Support your local travel agent.
Yes.
After the break, a review of today's front pages and top stories, including the NHS staffing crisis and the new mask mandate in schools. Talking about those and lots more right after this.
Are you a director in the construction industry? Has COVID changed how you keep stakeholders informed of the progress of your development? In One Place is your very own tailor-made community engagement app. Designed by Virtual Viewing, the app lets you tell people the latest news and updates, give access to 3D maps and plans, warn locals of possible disruption, list recruitment opportunities, and so much more. All in one place. Discover more at virtualviewing.com.
New Active Shape by XLS. Be active. Be strong. Be confident. Be in your best shape. And try the new Active Shape range by XLS. It's super delicious.
Lebara SIM-only plans offer 10 gigs of data and unlimited UK minutes and text for just £10 a month. Right now, get 50% off for the first 3 months. Buy now at lebara.co.uk.
Dry or chesty cough? Wondering what type of cough you have? Try BronchoStop. BronchoStop is used to relieve dry and chesty coughs. BronchoStop, to relieve any cough.
The Sky Broadband January sale is here. Start the new year with a bang and get our January Fibre special for just £25 a month. It comes with super fast speeds and our outstanding service too. So brace yourself for our incredible Sky Broadband January Fibre special with super fast speeds and outstanding service for the amazing value of just £25 a month for 18 months. New and existing customers, don't miss out. It won't last long. Go to sky.com today.
Just after 7:30, a very good morning to you. You're waking up to the New Look Breakfast Show. Eamonn and Isabel here on GB News. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, look, we have been getting so many emails, tweets, you name it. I'm pleased to say, really enjoying the show this morning. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for getting in touch. One thing we really want to do in this New Look show is when people get in touch, we're going to try and read out as many of them as we can. And in the future, we really want people to be sending in videos, maybe even calling in, whatever it might be, because you are going to be very much front and centre of everything we do. What have they been saying, Eamonn?
Well, it embarrasses me, but I'm going to read it anyway. Great to see the boss of Morning News back on screen. Who could Simon be talking about here? But anyway, good to see the band back back together on a channel that caters to its viewers rather than preaches to them, says Mark.
Yeah, that is, of course, for those who don't know, because Eamonn and I did present a breakfast show for a number of years before. It's not our first rodeo together. This is from Judy. Good luck on your new show. Not that you'll need it. Loving it already. The professionalism together with good humour is going to make this programme a hit. Just so refreshing.
That is the first time that I've been called professional. That's amazing.
You've got to stop Ruth tweeting in.
It's incredible.
What else? Simon said, got no problem with this is away from us. People have been tweeting about other subjects this morning as well. We've been talking about New Year's Eve, the impact of fireworks on pets. Simon said, I've got no problem with regulated firework displays, all under professional control. However, shops now sell industrial-type fireworks to anyone. These are too powerful. Restrictions on public sales to ordinary fireworks should be brought in.
And you see, bear in mind, people just don't say, oh, there's fireworks. You just listen and you go, oh, there's the sweet sound of fireworks. People always use an adjective before fireworks. You know what I mean? So they'll not just say fireworks.
They'll say fabulous fireworks, spectacular fireworks. Anyone in favour of fireworks out there? Because everyone's getting on the anti-firework bandwagon.
There's a time and a place.
Yeah,
it's just
New Year's Eve.
Not every night of the week.
No, I agree. But my kids loved it on New Year's Eve. Let me know if you've got some...
Christmas decorations in my day, or if I had my way, says Bob from Sheffield. Good morning, Bob. They would go up on Christmas Eve and come down on Boxing Day. I like Christmas, but we seem to drag it on for too long.
It's traditional, though, isn't it? It's supposed to last until January the 6th. If you've got a crib, it's just getting busy. The kings are imminent. You know, the Christmas story is far from over.
It's very good that you point out that it's not just a commercial fest.
It is a religious celebration
of Jesus.
That being said, my tree did come down on Saturday.
Let's look at the front pages. The Mirror, first of all, saying there's an emergency in the NHS. They say 1 in 10 staff were absent from work on New Year's Eve.
OK, let's take a look at the Daily Express. Go with Boris holding his nerve as NHS feels the strain. They say that the Prime Minister will not introduce further restrictions because officials believe data on Omicron indicates they are not yet necessary. Really good news in many ways. How will people be feeling about that in Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales, though, where, of course, they've got much stricter regimes at the moment in terms of Omicron? Also focusing on schools this morning, here's The Guardian. They say the government's told head teachers to merge classes to cope with staff off sick with COVID. It is a huge problem. They're also trying to rope in, I think, retired teachers as well. Heads have been told to use support staff and to allow some classes to be taught remotely, although fingers crossed, as a parent, I'm crossing my fingers and my toes that we don't have to go back to that. We know there is no substitute for face-to-face teaching. In the Daily Star, it says we're set for a polar plunge. Oh, great. We had one of those just before Christmas, didn't we? Now Britain's facing temperatures as low as -10. And that's after we had the mildest New Year's Eve on record. It says the cold weather will start to bite from today. So there you go. You have been warned. Wrap your kids up warm if you're sending them back to school from tomorrow. Here's the Daily Telegraph. It reflects the situation in schools. It says backlash at masks in schools as cases ease. The paper says some Tory MPs have called for a rethink over the plan to force children to wear masks throughout the school day as infection levels drop. Meanwhile, the Daily Mail looks at the cost of living crisis. That's going to be a huge story in 2022. They're saying that pressure's building on the Prime Minister over escalating energy bills. He's facing demands to honour one of his many Brexit campaign pledges. This one was to scrap VAT on fuel bills. Apparently, that would knock 60 quid off annual bills. Will he do it or will he not? Remains to be seen. And The Times is leading with ministers confident new curbs are not needed. It quotes a senior member of the Cabinet who says the public have already made significant changes to behaviour to protect themselves. Fingers crossed he is right. Here this morning to join us and to go through the papers, the choreographer, broadcaster and man of many talents, and previously worked with me as well. Yes. Lovely to see you again, Kevin Adams. And, of course, the broadcaster and well-known face of Woman's Hour presenter, Jenny Murray. Very warm welcome to you both this morning. Thanks for joining us. Where shall we start? Kevin, what have you got for me?
Let's talk about crisis. The NHS is in crisis. everything is a crisis. For the last 2 years, we say crisis with everything. There's a crisis with food. There's a crisis with petrol at the petrol station. There are 50,000 NHS workers that are now off with supposedly
self-isolating or ill due to Omicron.
Yes, and it could get worse, but it's not quite bad enough. We're not reaching crisis. We need to stop prefixing it, because then we become desensitised.
Yeah.
You become desensitised to the word, and you become desensitised to everything about COVID.
Yeah.
Everything about COVID. So if you tell me there's an infection out there, I'm just going to march through my life and just get on with it.
Yeah.
Because for 2 years now, I've been in crisis mode. You've been preparing me for a crisis.
The adrenal glands are working overtime. We're all full of cortisol. Is that the right hormone?
Yes, it is cortisol. Yes,
incredibly stressed.
Yes.
I feel it. I know exactly what you mean. So what's the answer to it?
Get on with it.
Yeah, get on with it.
We really have to dial back and just get on with it. Exhale, get on with your life. Wear your mask, get on with your life.
We do actually agree about that, because you almost get to the point. You know, I have always woken up to the Today programme on Radio 4. Obviously, you know, Radio 4 I love.
Me too.
And I've got to the point now where I think, oh no, I can't bear it.
Yeah.
I can't bear
So many
listening
people
to
say that
all
now.
this
Yeah.
stuff about the virus. And it's terrifying. So I made up my mind that I was just going to do whatever I could do.
So what is the answer then? Especially for us in the news industry, our job is to report the news. We can't stop telling it like it is. We are facing a number of crises at the moment. There's no denying it, whether it's energy crises, whether it's, you know, people struggling with the Omicron variant, whatever it may be. Is it just a case, as you say, we've just got to get on with it? Are there ways that people can learn to live in a calmer way? I saw that you spotted an article in the Daily Mail about a high-tech gadget that monitors anxiety. People can keep an eye on it.
Yes, you can monitor your cortisol levels, and it lets you know that you're approaching a crisis point. So it lets you know you should calm down. What you can't do is calm down. Yeah. It's all right knowing it's coming, but when you get to that point, you're already in the flows of it. So I don't know how effective that watch would be. That option
There are
would
times when tech just terrifies me. You know, who would want to wear a watch that would tell them their anxiety levels were rising? Like, you don't know. Or what was I reading about the banks, that they can, if you have a bank app, they can measure how fast you walk.
Yeah.
And I thought, no.
Yeah, it is
that
crazy,
is not
isn't it?
a good idea. I don't want my bank knowing how far, actually, in my case, how slowly I walk. But tech is really nerve-wracking.
What is it about
I
the
find.
human psyche that makes us feel we need to disconnect from our natural way of doing things? That sort of organic, I don't know. Why does our bank need to know how fast we walk? I don't know. I don't understand why we're interested in that. Look, I want to pick up a story, Jenny, that you've chosen here about e-scooters, because this is something on GBNews about e-scooters. Have I got the list correct here? 74-year-old man?
Yes. I have been really concerned about e-scooters ever since I was driving back from having had dinner at a friend's house on a main road, and I luckily had not been drinking at all, so I was stone cold sober, and suddenly one of these e-scooters zipped round me and actually terrified me. And I began to read about people being killed by being hit by them. They were on the pavements, they were on the main road. You know, I'm on the whole a pedestrian if I'm not driving a car, and I've seen them on pavement, zipping around. This one was a 74-year-old man.
What?
74-year-old man riding one of these e-scooters, which can go very, very fast, and he hit some parked cars. He was killed.
Terrible.
I have to say, I think they should be banned. You know,
They should be banned.
Please. You don't ban cars because someone dies in the car. I've got an electric scooter. Yes, I do have an electric scooter. And if I was 75 and I was on a scooter, there are certain dangers that are going to be there when you're on the scooter, the same dangers that are going to be when you're driving a car. Should they not be on? They shouldn't be on the path. You're right. I find that disrespectful. Get on the road. But if I'm on the road, I'm doing my thing. If I'm 75 and I'm on the road, I'm doing my thing. Allow me to do what I want to do.
But it's only legal to have one of those on the road if it's one of the ones that you can rent. Do you own your own one, or do you rent
I own my own one, and I have public liability insurance, and I ride it.
See, I love this debate. This is what it's all about because, you know, GB News gets so many emails about scooters and I have to say a lot of haters, but I'm with you on this.
Thank you.
I'm with you on this just because we're so overcrowded in London. There's so much congestion on the roads. Plus, we're breathing in all the fumes. I'm all for the e-scooters, but I love the debate. I'm afraid we've almost out of time. It's flown by.
No.
Kevin, Adams, Jenny, we're going to have more from you in the next hour.
Brilliant.
We can do it again and we'll get through more stories. But for now, for our first paper review together, it's been a pleasure. See you very shortly. Now, look, we've been talking about lots of things this morning, including hospitality. Of course, in England here, we didn't have many restrictions during the festive period. But did that mean you all went out to celebrate, or is Omicron still worrying you? Well, our East Midlands reporter, Will Hollis, went out to Grantham to ask you how you celebrated Christmas and New Year this year.
Spent Christmas Day on our own, me and my husband, at our house. We didn't see our family, and that was in order to then be able to celebrate for New Year's Eve. So we had quite a quiet Christmas this year. We didn't go to any bars or pubs. And then New Year's Eve, we went to a big party and did tests before we went.
We went out New Year's Eve afternoon. So I was at a local restaurant, the wife and I, because she works retail, so she was working the following day. So we were eating and drinking in the afternoon. The kids, who are both grown up now, were out in the pubs in the evening.
We would usually probably go to the pub for a few drinks, but we didn't this year because obviously COVID is still around, this new variant, and we just wanted to keep our family as safe as possible.
We went out for meals and we also had Christmas with the family. We didn't really alter any plans, and the reason for that was because we're all vaccinated. As requested by the government, and we just took precautions as and when needed.
Because of mine and my husband's age, we feel a lot more vulnerable, so we prefer not to go to places. We could have gone to somewhere on New Year's Eve, which is very close to us, but we chose not to.
Normally I would go out and about and possibly go to a football match and things like that, but not now, no.
I spent it with my daughter. Only one son came with me, so there's only 3 of us, and we didn't go out socialising, and although I've been boosted, I feel a bit safer having that.
We felt really confident about New Year's. Obviously we had loads of family and friends around, and we really enjoyed doing what we were doing. Like, there was karaoke involved, everyone was just having fun, and although there was like old people, like my girlfriend's nana there involved, like we weren't afraid of Omicron at all. Like, it was just us being together, like in unity, you know, in harmony and peace. So there was nothing to be afraid of, mate, honestly.
This is the new future. Just get on with it. Wear your mask when you go into a restaurant. Sit down, then take it off and have your meal or drink or whatever. And use a bit of common sense. Life has got to get on. We've got to get on with it.
Here to discuss the business news with business broadcaster Michael Wilson, and how it is seriously affecting, Michael, people here, because there was an Age UK report out yesterday and it says pensioners, and this won't just be pensioners, it'll be people on low incomes, at risk of freezing to death in their homes this winter. Why is this, Michael?
The sad fact is that that energy prices and increases in energy prices affect those who are least able to pay, because they spend a huge amount of what they actually get on heating and so on. There is no gas shortage. There is no gas shortage in the world. The problem is geopolitical forces and actually getting it to where it needs to be are in the way of actually getting it to people. So prices are going to rise. There's no question about that. There are fewer energy companies as well, because a lot of them, 20 have gone bust, basically, because they couldn't afford to operate with the energy cap on them. They couldn't make sufficient profit. That's what they're saying. So a lot of the people who are actually in the industry say that the model right now is unfit for business. Now that's actually quite difficult. So what it means is, unfortunately, that prices are going to rise. What could be done? Perhaps a reduction in VAT, perhaps getting rid of VAT altogether, perhaps getting rid of the environmental lobbies and subsidies that are actually in each bill. But do you actually want to do that? Do you care about the future, or do you care about the now? The problem is that this has to be paid for somewhere, and it looks like the consumer will be paying. What action the government can actually take, not quite sure about that, really. But the margins are so tight, it's not really encouraging other people to go into business.
But why are the margins so tight? I mean, you're saying, what do you care about?
Because wholesale prices have risen by 500% since the beginning of last year. That's the reason why. And it's not because there's no gas around. It's just not in the right place at the moment. Plus, just sorry to interrupt, but what the other thing is that you've got to look at China, which is massively increasing the kind of liquid petroleum, LPG, that it actually needs. And so that demand is pulling us away from the domestic
consuming.
market.
And is it taking it from Russia? Where are they getting their gas from?
Russia is no doubt playing geopolitical games. It's difficult to see what they're actually doing at the moment. It doesn't affect us too much. We don't get a massive proportion. It's mostly Europe. But what they're doing with Europe is somewhere in the big geopolitical game, and that's not helping anybody right now.
No, that's the whole Ukraine business.
Oh, etc.
So, Michael, how long will this go on for?
This will go on. I suspect probably it's going to be a massive story for the next few months. I don't really see what any government, whatever persuasion it might be, can actually do about this. I can't really see what the industry is going to do, because simply the prices, the wholesale prices, are so high, and the model itself doesn't work properly. It was a good idea to put a cap on how much you could actually be charged, but it's not good, because if you now go to, for example, if you go say, well, I've got loads of choice. You used to have loads of choice in the past. You don't have loads of choice anymore, because there are fewer companies around.
So, but you're saying good idea about the caps, but good idea to take a large proportion of your energy from Russia?
Well, we don't in the UK. That's a question for Europe and so on. We get it from Europe, but not directly from Russia. So Russia is not too much of an issue for us. However, within the big game of things, Russia is playing a big and fairly aggressive role.
I tell you what I want to talk to you about now. Earlier in the newspaper review, we were talking about staff shortages in the NHS. What about staff shortages in the business world?
The business world has been amazingly agile in coping with that right now. I mean, and they have been over the past few months. Go into your supermarket and see how they've actually, there may be empty shelves there and so on, there may be fewer people serving, but what they've managed to do is to concentrate on things that actually they think that you want to buy. It's difficult in the health service because it's governed by different kind of rules, but I think you're going to find that business is quite agile about that. I hope it is, but it's a real problem. I mean, there are just fewer staff turning up. How long that will last for, who knows? The problem is it's all about uncertainty. Give people certainty and they can plan. Yeah. Give people an idea of what's really going on and they can cope with it. At the moment, we simply don't know.
What is going on with the supply chain? Because I hear everyone from, shops about what they can stock on their shelves. Builders, I mean, you say to a builder, can you build this greenhouse for me, whatever, and they'll say, well, it's the supply chain.
It is. I mean, as I understand it, there are many large container ships wallowing in the high seas, waiting to come to ports which can't cope. I mean, it's quite serious. And there was a shortage, for example, of timber at one stage for building materials. That's now over a little bit, but there are other shortages as well. So supply chains have really been hit. The problem is we've all bounced back from the pandemic much more quickly than people actually thought we would.
Well, thanks for so much cheery news to start the year.
I'll see if I can do it better next time.
Okay. Oh, ho, ho. Thanks very much indeed. That's business broadcaster Michael Wilson. Thank you very much indeed. Isabel.
Well, coming up, Bradley Harris talks to more of our viewers on their doorstep about masks in schools. But after the break, we read out your thoughts on fireworks and pet safety. Will your email make it to air? First, here's your forecast.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Looking ahead to today's weather, and the UK is looking showery for many, with colder air working its way southwards over northern areas. Let's take a look at the details. Well, many of the showers should have eased from southwest England, but it will be a generally cloudy and breezy picture with rain not too far off the south coast. A similar story for the capital and the southeast, with a fair amount of dry, if rather cloudy weather around on Monday lunchtime. Still on the mild side, though. Scattered showers then will be affecting much of Wales, with the brightest weather further north and cloudier skies in the south. Temperatures there around 11 Celsius. And bright skies for much of the Midlands today, though a few showers are likely towards Herefordshire and Shropshire. Temperatures there at lunchtime around 9 or 10 Celsius for many, with a brisk southwesterly wind. Some sunshine for much of Yorkshire, but we'll run into thicker clouds towards County Durham and Northumberland, with some patchy patchy rain arriving on the scene by lunchtime. Temperatures by now back into the single figures. And the weather front bringing about the change to colder weather will be sitting over central and southern Scotland at lunchtime. Temperatures there continuing to fall throughout the afternoon. And that same weather front will be making inroads into the north of Northern Ireland, but at this stage it should still be dry and perhaps quite bright for Belfast and Armagh. So rain and hill snow coming south into northern England this evening and becoming very windy with snow showers in northern Scotland. And that is how your weather is shaping up for the rest of your bank holiday Monday.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello there, I'm Eamonn.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamonn Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamonn
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Well, here we are just before 8 o'clock on this Monday, the 3rd of January. A very warm welcome to breakfast with Eamonn and Isabel.
There's anger over plans to force children to wear face masks in schools. Despite figures showing a fall in the number of new COVID cases, we're asking, is this fair? We're going to be speaking to Nadeem Zahawi, the Education Secretary, a little bit later on this hour. Do send us your thoughts for him.
Well, I'll be controversial here. Why do we care? That's dormant. I recognise that. Let's talk about that. We'll be live in Belfast ahead of what promises to be a big year with elections there in May. What you don't understand is there's always elections in Northern Ireland, and we're going to be in Cumber, which is just a couple of miles up the road from Stormont, the outskirts of Belfast.
And as most of us enjoyed ringing in the new year, all this morning we're talking about our furry friends. They didn't fare so well, did they, with all those firework? We want to hear your thoughts. Are your pets affected, or do you think we should all just be getting on with it? Let us know your thoughts this morning. GBViews at gbnews.uk, or of course you can tweet us at GBnews.
Sounds like everybody's enjoying the show this morning. Barbara, first of all, emailed in and said, what a treat to see Eamonn. Oh, not Isabel, just Eamonn. I'm embarrassed.
It was from one of your female fans. It's okay.
Morning to see Eamonn.
Sorry, who chose that one?
Anyway, but made Barbara's day. Thank you very much indeed.
Anthony has said, loving the new show. So looking forward to seeing you both. There we go. First thing in the morning. Keep up the excellent work.
And many of you are emailing in on the debate of when you should take your Christmas decorations down, or if you should ever put them up in the first place.
Oh yeah, you've got to put them up. Maggie says, I like the tree and decorations up on the 1st of December, but I take them down on Boxing Day. I can't be doing with the clutter. How interesting. I think the 1st of December's a bit punchy for me. I can't cope with it.
Well, what are they called? Bin operatives. What are they called?
Bin men.
Well, no, you can't call bin men anymore. I'm surprised you as a feminist
here we go.
saying that as well. The bin people. The
bin people who are predominantly male.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't think I've ever seen a female bin person.
Do you know what? Neither have I. And I worked as a bin...
Oh, here we go. You were a milkman. You were a bin man.
But this was for a TV programme.
Oh, right, OK.
And I worked as a bin man for a week. Tough job.
Tough gig. I always say thank you to my bin men every time I see them.
They don't want you to say thank you. They want to give you a little present at Christmas, don't you? You want to look after them.
Well, I wasn't at home at Christmas, so...
Well, knock on the door should be ready to put that right anyway. But so basically, you've got to think of them. Think of the amount of garbage they have got to clean up after Christmas and the New Year.
Not least the Christmas trees. Christmas tree cemeteries have already started all across London. I don't know where they are, what they're like where you are, but people dump them on the streets.
Where'd you dump yours?
Well, just outside our house.
Why don't you get a really good artificial one?
Well, my husband did buy one, but I hate it, so
Why do you hate it?
It's not one I'd have chosen. It's too skinny, and I wanted a very plump, pretty Christmas tree.
So basically, if I was a Christmas tree, I'd be perfect.
With a little fairy on your head.
Tell you what I did though. I got a Christmas tree that has its lights, which are an app on your phone.
Stop.
And you can. I'm telling you.
Wow.
And they can be anything you want them to be. They can be lights to suit you or lights to suit
There's
me.
only one sort of lights that suit me or anybody, and that's got to be a warm yellow. No flashing, no bright colours.
No, to me the white has got to be a blue white.
Okay.
But basically what I prefer is red.
Controversial. Oh, of course you do.
Red.
Man United all
No,
the way.
it's Christmas, it's
oh,
red.
Right, OK.
Things are red.
Santa Claus red.
Anyway, then there's all those fireworks. And I do have to say, I was very, very angry on New Year's Eve as fireworks were going off. What time does it start at? 5 o'clock or so? But it's awful.
Yeah, well,
and
we were setting off
fireworks went off last night near where we lived. What was that all about as well?
It was probably just to wind you up.
Probably.
I was
scares
setting
the
off
wits out of the
fireworks.
dogs, which is why I'm talking about this.
Yeah.
And there's a number of emails I saw here and texts, and a lot of you really, really upset by this.
Yeah, Martin has said there are 7,000 hospital admissions for dog bites each year, and they're calling for those to be banned. Obviously not. Oh.
He's a bundle of fun, isn't he? Right, anyway, Ian says, I live in a beautiful part of the country, Poole,
Oh, it
in
is
Dorset.
beautiful. Yeah.
Every summer, on a Thursday, we have fireworks on the quay.
Oh, lovely.
It was nice to start with, but every Thursday you can hear them for miles. Next, we're asking, what's your opinion on masks on kids? Do you care?
Yes.
Why do you care, Isabel?
Well, it interests me. I've got kids who are in school, so I'm very alive to all the issues around schools. I can see that something needs to be done because we've all done pretty well at keeping ourselves safe up until now. Will this be the big moment where it all goes crazy again when the kids are going back into school? And is it fair on the youngsters that they have to wear masks all day long whilst they're sitting there studying? If it keeps them in school, maybe that's a good thing. But
So
equally...
is that what you went to school for, to study?
Well, and all the above, social interaction. And that is absolutely key, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because can you have proper social interaction as a young 12, 13, 14-year-old boy or girl?
I'd like to think so.
What, just with your eyes? Maybe it's all you need at that
That's all
age.
you need, yeah.
Look, no, it's an important discussion. We're talking to Nadeem Zahawi about that. Does it get you worked up this morning? Let us know your thoughts. If it keeps the kids in school, maybe it's a price
So
worth
he's the
paying.
health, he's the Secretary
Education
of
Secretary.
Education Secretary, yes, I
Secretary,
forget,
yes.
they change all so quickly.
Yeah, they do.
So often. But anyway, his views on that, we're going to do that just before 9 o'clock as well. To debate fireworks and pets is one of our viewers, Tom Clayton. Tom's in Sheffield, and he contacted us on social media. Here's his tweet, and he says, I'm torn, to be honest. Get why we have them, meaning fireworks, but kills me to see my dog shivering in a corner, not having the courage to drink or eat for a week in November and on New Year's Eve. I'm worried if it has any long-term effects, but I wouldn't call for a total ban. I think commercial use, yes. Residential, no. Tom, would you like to expand on all of that? Because it's your views, your news. Tell us more.
Yeah, you know, I was sort of like in the camp of not being a killjoy and trying to, you know, mitigate whatever's going on with the fireworks with my dog and whatever. But every New Year's Eve, every bonfire night, as you know yourself, Eamonn, you know, bonfire night isn't just bonfire night. It goes on for a week and a half. And, you know, it makes it difficult for you to plan in terms of how you care for your dog. You know,
but Tom,
not being able to eat or drink was a bit.
I think when we raise this subject, Tom, you get a lot of people who don't have pets or don't see the effect on wildlife or animals.
That's me.
That's you. Just going, oh, so what? Big deal. Move on, whatever. But it is, you know, your pet is like part of your family. And to watch it in distress and not be able to communicate with it, as you know, and as you have seen yourself, it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. Look, I was in that camp as well. You know, before I got my dog that I've currently got now, I was one of those people that bought fireworks and had them in my back garden. You know, they bring a lot of joy to families up and down the country. I completely get it. But, you know, once we saw the effects that it had on our dog, you know, we can take them or leave them now. You know, it's just something that we're not too bothered about. You know, it's not just dogs. To be honest, it's a lot of things. Like people say that it has impact on wildlife. I'm not too sure about that. You know, there's probably veterans with PTSD out there that think it's pretty bad.
Basically, what you're saying, Tom, is we could do this, but in a better way, in a more considerate way. We could shorten the period that fireworks are available. Should they be sold to the public, for instance? Or as Isabel was mentioning earlier, you were talking about silent
They have
fireworks.
silent ones in France, so I was asking whether or not that would take away, detract from some of the spectacle. Is it partly about the big pop as it hits the sky? But I just wanted to bring up what New Year's Eve's like in Amsterdam. My husband lived in Holland for many years, and if you think it's bad here, it was like a war zone, and people had them in the street. It wasn't even at midnight. It was all evening, every direction. You could see things being set on fire in the street. You wouldn't feel safe to walk down the street in Amsterdam on New Year's Eve due to the fireworks.
So
that must
final
be crazy.
word. What's the solution as you see it before we bring someone else in, Tom?
I think just domestic use, it needs to be looked at. You know, I've got no problem with big displays. You know, the planned. You know, there's a set date on when they happen. You know, but domestic use, you know, in residential areas, you know, it can go on. How long's a piece of string? It can go on for a week. It can go on for 2 weeks. Same as you, we had them going off last night. You know, what are they celebrating?
I know, and some areas are worse than others. Tom, really appreciate that. Thank you very much indeed from Sheffield.
Cheers for having me on.
Thanks. No, any time. Hey, will you come back again sometime? Tom,
He's gone, but we'll get him back. We'll get him back another time.
No, we're going to go to the Isle of Wight. We're up in Sheffield there. We're going to go to the Isle of Wight now and to a Twitter follower of mine, social media friend, Kim Rattray. And Kim tweeted me last night about her dog. And your dog, Kim, is Bullseye. It's called Bullseye. Would you tell me what your problem and what the problem was with Bullseye?
Well, do you know what? When we first got Bullseye, he was absolutely fine with fireworks. The first year was absolutely fine, didn't really bother him. We've had him now nearly 4 years, and he is getting worse every year. I mean, you know, this year he was full on shaking, he was panting, he's got a crate that he likes to sleep in. And he was coming out to us for reassurance and then not letting us give him that reassurance. He didn't know what to do with himself. And it's quite upsetting for the children to see their pet in this kind of state, really.
I think for the dog charities, Kim, that if they maybe would do more of videoing people like our dogs like Bullseye. And then if children saw that distress, they wouldn't want to be letting off fireworks if they actually saw the distress it causes certain animals, not all animals, certain animals.
That's right. And I mean, when you go to watch these fireworks, a lot of the bangs do affect the children anyway. I mean, you see a lot of the small children covering their ears, burying themselves into their parents' shoulder as if to try to escape it. So I'm kind of all for the silent ones, really. Like you say, in France and even Italy, they do them. you know, I don't think you need that bang.
I mean, this has been an eye-opener for me, because I was one of the people on New Year's Eve setting off fireworks for my little ones. I had no idea. I've never had a dog. I've had cats growing up. They didn't seem to mind, or maybe we just got lucky. But as Eamonn said, if I was to see, and I have seen subsequently videos on social media of dogs that look like, you know, they're going through a war zone, then it would make me think twice. And perhaps it's just, as you say, it's about just public information and awareness. Yeah, but what the answer to it, I don't know, is in all of this.
Anyway.
Well, you recommend these blankets, don't you? What are they called? Thunder jackets. Tell us a bit about those.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people seem to use the thunder jacket. Again, obviously, thunderstorms have these large bangs. It's really quite scary for the dogs. And that I do find that they do actually take the edge off the fright for them. It's a little bit of a comfort to them. So yeah, I do recommend them. I mean, Bullseye isn't at the stage where he needs anything like the sedatives.
Gosh.
You know, I'm hoping he doesn't actually get to that point.
We will. I presume Bullseye is a bulldog.
Bullseye is a greyhound. He's an ex-racer.
There you go. Well, the thing is, you'll get to know who Bullseye is, because Kim, if you look her up on social media, on Twitter, she is the most talented artist. And animals can, you know, you do quite a lot of animal portraits, don't you?
I do. Do you know what? 80% of my commissions are actually of pet. So a lot of dogs. I do a lot of dogs. You know, I mean, people love their dogs, don't they?
They certainly do.
But yeah.
Like children, but...
I'll tell you what, I'll retweet one of your pictures on social media and let people have a look at what you do on there. Lovely to hear from you.
And Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you guys too.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Secondary school pupils in England will be wearing masks in the classroom this week, but not their teachers.
Yeah, pupils will also need to be tested before coming back from the Christmas break. But just yesterday, ministers said there was nothing in the current COVID data to suggest more curbs like these were needed in England.
GBNews national reporter Paul Hawkins joins us now from Westminster to tell us more. Paul.
Yeah, this is the government. They're worried really about workplace absences in schools. Teachers testing positive and then having to self-isolate for up to 7 days, and potentially with this wave of Omicron, kids having to take up remote learning from home. And that's why Nadeem Zahawi, the Education Secretary, we'll be speaking to him later on in the programme. He has written to schools recommending pupils wear face masks all day, which has been happening in the UK, in Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales. In England, it hasn't happened since May, but now kids are being told to wear face masks all day. And in addition to that, also to get tested tomorrow on site when they arrive at school before the new term, and then twice a week, at least until the end of January. And if schools are struggling, if teachers do test positive, the Education Secretary is suggesting that classes are merged so schools can continue face-to-face learning. Now, there has been some opposition to pupils wearing face masks. I know Sir Ian Duncan-Smith, the Conservative MP, has called it premature. Robert Halfon, the chair of the Education Select Committee, another Conservative MP, has suggested that there are concerns about children's well-being, about school pupils' emotional and mental health when it comes to wearing face masks, and that has to be balanced against the minimal risk to school children when it comes to COVID. So there are concerns about children wearing face masks, but the government is saying, look, we need to put this in place to protect teachers as much as the pupils themselves, so we can continue face-to-face learning, because education for kids over the past 18 months, 2 years or so, has been severely impacted by the pandemic.
Paul, thanks very much indeed. A legal document Prince Andrew's lawyers hope will end the civil sex case against him is going to be made public.
His legal team say the case should be thrown out because of a 2009 settlement between his accuser Virginia Giuffre and the Duke of York's former friend and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Hundreds of thousands of people have signed a petition calling for Tony Blair to be stripped of his knighthood. The former Prime Minister was included in the New Year's honours list, but critics say the 2003 invasion of Iraq makes him unsuitable for the Queen's highest honour.
New figures show lockdown activities led to thousands more people going to hospital. Repeated restrictions saw many turning to new activities like DIY, getting new pets or following outdoor pursuits. But according to these figures, it led to over 8,000 tool accidents, more than 7,000 dog bites and over 5,000 people falling off playground equipment.
When they say people falling off playground equipment.
Mainly children, one suspects.
But how old are these children?
Yeah.
37?
Exactly.
GB News North and West England reporter Bradley Harris has been on certain people's doorsteps today. Could be coming on to a street near you very soon. So Bradley, you're talking about hospitality and whether the industry will bounce back this year, whether people are using it, whether they're frightened to do that or not. Now, he's in a place called Frodsham in Cheshire, and we're going to make your town or your neighbourhood famous because Frodsham, it's near Warrington, it's near Runcorn as well. And Bradley, tell us more, introduce us to somebody in Frodsham.
Yeah, that's right, Eamonn. Yeah, I've come to Frodsham near Cheshire. Beautiful town, voted one of the best places to live in England. And you can see why. It is fantastic. We're on a street with loads of local independent shops. Of course, this year has been really tough for hospitality, particularly over Christmas and New Year, where many places were expecting huge bookings for Christmas parties, things like that. But of course, the Omicron variant has got in the way. We've come to a local independent coffee shop. Perfect for a Monday morning to come and find out how it's been over Christmas and New Year. It says closed at the minute, but I'm hoping, look at that, just with a knock, it's open. And Stacey Forrester, you are the lead barista here. Yeah. You work here in Frodsham. Thanks so much for joining us on our new breakfast show. We're just talking about hospitality this morning, one of our big news stories today. How has it been over Christmas with the Omicron variant?
Well, it has taken a hit, to be honest. We've had our quiet periods, but it can be up and down this time of year anyway. But generally the week before the Christmas week, it's been like really quiet. I think a lot of people have had COVID, myself on the run-up before Christmas as well. So, yeah, I think it's been generally quieter than usual. But we're lucky we've got the support of our local customers, regular customers. They come in again and again, so, you know, we've been lucky, yeah.
Yeah, and of course we're heading into a new year. You see and meet the people, your regulars that come in. Yeah. What have they been telling you when you're making the coffee for them in the morning?
Well, they've all kind of had a bit of a different Christmas. A lot of them have missed family, so, you know, they're having a big get-together now that they're allowed to, or some are just generally having a quieter Christmas because family members or whatever haven't been very well or are vulnerable. So, yeah.
And one of our other big stories today is obviously on face masks in secondary schools. Do you have any children?
Yes, I've got two, but one in primary school.
Right, so what do you make of the face masks becoming mandatory again in secondary schools? Do you think that's the right approach?
Not really. Like, I mean, with the secondary school people, you do see them walk around the street, like, wearing masks in shops or whatever anyway. But I just think we need to get back to normal now, really. I think there just comes a point we need to move forward rather than taking steps back.
And what's it just been like for you and your family? You said you had COVID. Yeah. What's it been like for the rest of the family? And what are you hoping for the new year?
Well, the new year, I'm hoping to see my sister get married. She's had it booked for years. My sister and my brother-in-law, they've had it booked for such a long time. It was meant to be in October last year, Mexico, so she's postponed it to this year. So, yeah, May, hopefully, that'll be the main thing. Brilliant. We had the hen do without the wedding.
Fingers crossed that can still happen.
Not getting another one, Ashley, by the way.
Can I just say, I love Frodsham. Beautiful street that this local independent shop is on. What is it that you just love about this place so much? What's the spark for you?
About Frodsham or about working
about Frodsham,
here or a bit of both? Yeah, I just love Frodsham. I love the way everyone is kind of connected in some way. Everyone says hello, you know, we're all like a bit of a big family here. And Brew and Tucker, it's really a great place to work. And this is like almost the heart of it now. Every time I go out, I see someone that's like a regular customer, you know, that comes in here all the time. So it's just a really like friendly kind of vibe. And yeah, everyone just says hello and, you know, just chats on the street and stuff. It's nice. It's a small town, so yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, well, Stacey, it's been really nice chatting to you on the street. I'll let you crack on because I can smell the coffee brewing, so I know you've got a lot of work to do. Thanks so much for chatting to us on our brand new breakfast show. That's great, isn't it? And great to see, even though it has been a difficult year for businesses, it's great to see doors with the signs saying back open. Incredible to see.
Thanks, Bradley. That's super. Thanks for your little tour of the Northwest this morning. Where have you been to? You've been to Altrincham, you've been to Frodsham, you've been to Timperley. You've done very, very well.
I'm going to try and knock on at a pub next.
That's where you're aiming to finish. I like your style, Bradley. Good stuff. We'll see you again in the pub then shortly. Stay with us. Lots more coming your way on Breakfast with Eamonn and Isabel. Later this hour, the sports broadcaster Paul Coit will be joining us for a roundup of all things Premier League.
But up next, two great Northern Irish minds come together with our Northern Ireland reporter Dougie Beattie joining me to discuss how Northern Ireland will fare in 2022. Here's the weather.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Well, looking ahead to today's weather, and the UK is looking showery for many, with colder air working its way southwards over northern areas. Let's take a look at some of the details. Well, many of the showers should have eased from southwest England, but it will be a generally cloudy and breezy picture with rain not too far off the south coast. A similar story for London and the southeast, with a fair amount of dry, if rather cloudy weather around on Monday lunchtime. Still on the mild side, though. Scattered showers will be affecting much of Wales, with brightest weather further north and cloudier skies in the south. Temperatures there up to around 11 Celsius. Then bright skies for much of the Midlands, though a few showers are likely towards Herefordshire and Shropshire. Temperatures there at lunchtime up to around 9 or 10 Celsius for many areas, with a brisk southwesterly wind. Some sunshine for much of Yorkshire, but we'll run into thicker cloud towards County Durham and Northumberland, with some patchy rain arriving on the scene by lunchtime. Temperatures by now back into single figures. And the weather front bringing about the change to colder weather that will be sat over central and southern Scotland at lunchtime, with temperatures continuing to fall throughout the afternoon. And that same weather front will then be making inroads into the north of Ireland, but at this stage it should still be dry and perhaps quite bright for Belfast and Armagh. Rain and hill snow coming south into northern England this evening and becoming very windy, with snow showers in northern Scotland. And that's how the weather is shaping up for the rest of your bank holiday Monday.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello there, I'm Eamonn.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world. If
you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farrar, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farrar.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamonn Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamonn
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
We're going to Belfast now. Let's cross over to our reporter Doug Beattie there, who's going to tell us, surprise, surprise, Dougie, there's going to be another election in Northern Ireland. Haven't had one of those in, what, at least 6 weeks or so?
Yes. Hello and welcome to, actually I'm in Cumber, and Happy New Year to all, but a place like this is a very midsummer's village, and it is, I don't know, it's very middle class. There's a lot of employment in it, most of that in the private sector, and this square that I'm standing in now has 4 hospitality outlets in it, so you can imagine that place like this would not be too pleased with what's going on inside the executive. The Northern Ireland executive goes to the polls in June, May-June time, so most of the stuff now will not be going through, most of the legislation and so forth. All the parties will be in election mode, and I took a look back at the year that's been and the year ahead.
Anybody here or anywhere else in Northern Ireland who has any basic understanding of Irish history think it would be a good idea to put border posts on the island of Ireland? I'm not sure they do.
This is not the way forward. Politics is how we're going to resolve these issues around the protocol. We're making progress. We didn't have violence over the summer, and that's when we made the progress.
Government needs to take a hold of this situation, recognise what they've done, and if they didn't intend to subjugate the Act of Union, then they need to reverse it by repudiating the protocol.
So the principle is that's important to unions, and we want the substance put back in now, which would balance then, any agreement.
2021 has seen political understanding set back 20 years. Arguments over the protocol, culture and the past now dominate our headlines and feature highly in our courts. The lack of clear direction around COVID and the hospitality business has been an embarrassment for this executive.
Pre-COVID, we're Northern Ireland's 4th largest private sector employer. By a third of all Northern agri-food, account for 2/3 of tourism spend. Today, we estimate just in the Christmas period alone, our industry has lost between 250 to 300 million. That's the money that carries us through January and February. We are officially open, but effectively closed.
Wholesalers and retailers also struggle to see the wisdom in a government controlled by a huge public sector and no clear lines of communication or planning.
Unfortunately, the worst jurisdiction has been the Northern Ireland Executive. It's the not knowing is the hardest part for us as businesses. They don't understand that hospitality has a supply chain behind that, be it food, drink, whatever, fresh veg, fresh food, and we have to try and plan, and without any kind of level of guidance or thought process, that is very, very difficult. Throughout this pandemic, we haven't even had rates relief in our business as a food wholesaler. From all of those lockdowns, the amount of lost stock is in the tens of thousands of pounds for us as a business. And the view has been, well, that's a too difficult box to tick, so we just have to deal with that.
Inflation is causing huge problems, especially in farming. Farmers are asking for flexibility around legislation to cushion the financial shocks around fuel, fertiliser and feed.
Coming out of a pandemic, I think the rules and regulations would need to be eased. They weren't enforced during the pandemic. Our inspections were eased off till 2 years, 3-year period. Similar to MOTs and cars. The pandemic has actually showed us that these things can be eased off. They don't have to be done every year, that the rules and regulations and stipulations, they don't have to be enforced till such a degree that it's crippling us.
2022 is an election year and all parties are now playing to their electorate. That means very little will be achieved and nationalists will be pushing for this election to be turned into a border poll. This is the Irish border. Right now, I'm in the EU, and across that stretch of water behind me is the UK. This piece of land has been fought upon for generations. Now it's about to be fought over, and not by those who can't decide the rules of how to worship the same God, but by those who can't decide the rules of how to trade with the same people. The Irish roads between the UK and the EU have no border posts and only small signs telling you about your speed limits, letting you know if you're in kilometres or miles per hour. Northern Ireland is part of the 5th largest economy in the world. The UK's gross domestic product is in around $3 trillion. The Republic of Ireland is $388 billion, and about 20% of that comes from Britain. As elections come into view, will it be COVID, the protocol, or the border poll that dominate? Dougie Beattie, GB News, on the Irish border.
You're making me homesick, Dougie.
It does look very beautiful.
It is very beautiful.
Never been.
Dougie, just one wee thing. We were talking about fireworks earlier in the programme. Correct me if I'm wrong. We are banned from them, aren't we?
Well, we're not quite banned for them. I bought some a few years back, and I remember you had to have a permit for them. That was the problem. But they are a lovely thing to have, but they can become a nuisance. I mean, on Halloween here, 2 weeks before Halloween, we have 2 dogs and 2 horses, and I mean, it was a nightmare. It's okay if you have them, use them on the night, and then don't use them after that. That's fine, but you know, to constantly use them is not great.
Yeah, we can fire petrol bombs or light bonfires, but we can't have fireworks. I always remember as a kid you had those indoor ones that were completely awful. Now look, you're there, you're in Cumber. My son lives just behind you there. You can call around for a cup of tea later if you want. But how would you sum up, I mean, with this election in May, does anything get done knowing that there is going to be polls then?
No, not. I mean, each side will now play to their own electorate, and this is very, very sad thing with Northern Ireland. I mean, this area here behind us is a very mixed area. It's quite a nice area to live in, and as I've reported in the past, the people in inner city Belfast have more in common with each other socially and economically than they do religious-wise. But you know, Northern Ireland is a beautiful place to live. It is an absolutely stunning place for scenery, and it is part of the 5th largest economy in the world, which gives us all the benefits of that. But the Northern Ireland Executive has never moved on from the Good Friday Agreement. One side won't recognise the other side's culture, and because of that, it just gets stuck in this mire and does not go forward at all.
Thanks for the update, Dougie. Thank you. Appreciate it. Live there from Cumber. We're on the outskirts of Belfast.
It's on my list. Places to visit. Definitely going to hit it up.
It's like cucumber.
Is it? Leafy?
No, Cumber. It's pronounced. It's like cucumber.
Oh, I thought you were saying it's like Kew in London, which I like. Oh, gosh. Anywho.
Speak a different language.
Yeah, anyway. Literally sometimes. Look, stay with us. So much coming your way. We've got sports. We've got the lovely broadcaster Paul Coit coming in. He's going to give us an update on all things Premier League, including the results of the Chelsea-Liverpool game. He really is lovely. He's not Australian.
I thought he was.
Yeah, you did. He's from Essex.
That's there you go.
We'll also be reading out your views on everything from fireworks, masks, Christmas decorations, back to school, you name it. Will your email be read out? Stay tuned to find out. See you in a moment.
Hello there, I'm Eamonn.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farrar, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farrar.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamonn Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamonn
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News. Welcome back. The time is just after 8:30. Thanks for watching us this morning on Breakfast with Eamonn and Isabel. So many of you have been getting in touch, whether it's on email, on Twitter. I've even had a few personal messages. Thank you so much for watching us this morning. And I'm going to read out a flavour of a few of them. Ray has tweeted saying, such fun watching Isabel and Eamonn on our brand new show. Loving the banter. Hope you're enjoying it too. Tracy also really enjoying your show. How lovely to have you back. You both look and sound great. Shane TV Thompson says, I'm loving Isabel and Eamonn's new show. Such a breath of fresh air. Dan Williams, thoroughly enjoying Breakfast with Eamonn and Isabel on GB News. Thank you so much. As I say, keep sending in those. We'll try and retweet as many of those as we can. This one from Darren. I've just lost it. Darren has said, what's he said? He's emailed in to say, great to see balanced conversation on TV again from GB News. I will be spreading the word and encourage people to support non-biased reporting. You do that, please, Darren. We've had so many views as well on the subjects we've been talking about this morning. Loads of talking points. Do fireworks upset your pets? Have you got your Christmas decorations down? You name it, we've been talking about it this morning. Rowan saying fireworks should be banned for general public use. Displays are amazing and should be able to go ahead. My pet, though, was terrified on New Year's Eve. And Kevin says there's a lot of talk about pets and fireworks, but I've got an autistic daughter who hates the bangs that these bombs, always called them bombs, make. We can prepare her for the 5th of November, but not the weeks either side. And that's been something lots of you have been saying. Fair enough for the big events, whether it be Guy Fawkes night or New Year's Eve, but it's the sort of 2 weeks either side that's been really bothering lots of you. Keep your thoughts coming in. We'll try and read out as many of them as we can.
Going to talk football now. Premier League action resumed over the weekend. Chelsea fought back from 2 goals down against Liverpool to earn a draw. And do you know what? That was at Stamford Bridge, and Paul is with me now to talk about all of this. But the only winners there were City, weren't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, it was like whoever lost, they're going to be out of the title race, although pretty much I think they are anyway, don't you?
It's done and dusted.
It is done and dusted. Nobody has come back from where Man City are at the moment.
11 clear?
Yeah, 11 clear, and it's never been done that anybody's come back and won that. I mean, the only other time I can remember was Newcastle back in the day. You know, remember that?
Man U, Newcastle?
Of course, yeah. You must have loved that.
Loved that.
You must have.
I love it.
I bet you were really loving it, weren't you?
Really loving it. But you see, we're talking about Liverpool and Chelsea there. Yeah. Lukaku,
yes,
he was a big man for us at one stage at United. You know, why is he? What's happened that's created this row at Chelsea between him and Tuchel, and what is going to happen?
Well, the way I see it, and I've been thinking about this because there's something that just doesn't quite add up. He did an interview with Italian TV station, and what he was doing was pretty much saying, from what I saw, not that I speak Italian at all, but from the translation. So firstly, we're going to get things which could well be lost in translation. Secondly, I kind of like it. It was like flirting with an old flame and the wife's found out. You know, it was like that because he was going, Inter Milan, I love Inter Milan, I had a great time, I want to come back again. So automatically people are thinking, hold on, you love Inter Milan more than you love us?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And then he said that he wasn't too happy, but I actually honestly believe, instead of thinking, I want to get out of here,
it's all
I think it's more his love for Inter Milan.
Safe standing.
Yes.
Some trials on that took place over the weekend as well. You know, I'm going to be controversial here. I can think of nothing worse.
Really?
I remember it first time around. I mean, you can't even go into details. Men relieving themselves against the back of your leg. You know, it was just, I mean, you can honestly... Well, why would you want to stand when you could sit? It's like a concert.
I had no idea I was standing next to you at the time. This is the thing that's really worried me. I just had no idea it was you. It was before you were famous. It must have been. No, seriously, I think it's great to have the choice. You have the choice not to do that. Yeah. But a lot of fans really want to. And as long as it's safe, which it is... I mean, if you go to any away ground, if you're supporting United or I'm supporting Spurs, if I go to an away ground... Everybody's standing anyway. Everybody is up. And then there's the choice that you can stand up. You don't want the situation where you're up, you're down. I don't want to stand up. I'd rather sit down. Give people the choice, and it's as simple as that. And as long as it's safe, because the barriers are in front.
There is a big
and
demand
behind.
about it, and supporters believe that they can make a difference at the atmosphere, and the clubs obviously believe.
I believe that too.
Make a difference.
Yeah, I believe that too.
So, will it be back to stay?
Yeah, I think it will be. I mean, there's Spurs are going to be next. Manchester United are doing it. Obviously, not where you're going to be. There's going to be Man City, Cardiff as well. So they're going to trial it. I can't really see, Eamonn, to be honest with you, how it's not going to work. Because there are seats there, there's barriers either side. All the problems that we saw years and years ago are going to be eliminated.
So listen, mate, when you and me go to Old Trafford, if I'm back to the Old Trafford to watch Spurs, whatever, you'll be sitting, right? You'll be sitting, because that's my seats. That's why they're called seats.
Right.
If I go to Spurs, which is amazing ground, will I be standing or sitting?
You can. Well, I think you can. I imagine that if you play Spurs, you're not going to have the opportunity to stand because you're not going to be scoring. But with me, obviously, I will be standing at Old Trafford with you. I'm not so sure.
I think that's a very good time to wrap this.
Thank you.
We're going to be talking about the big tech stories to look out for in 2022. Donald Trump, you remember him? His new social network, Truth Social, is going to be launched this spring after he was banned to going on Twitter, if you remember, after that Capitol Hill riot. Will Guyett joins us. He's a tech journalist. Very good to see you, Will. Thanks for joining us this morning. Look, this is going to be controversial, isn't it? Launching a new social media platform to try and rival Twitter, called Truth as well. What's the sort of mood surrounding it?
Well, there'll be a lot of people wanting to use this platform. Whether or not it's something I think it's a great move or not doesn't really matter. But I know there'll be a number of people who feel that Donald Trump was denied the chance to spread his views, typically from the toilet, apparently Donald Trump used to tweet. And he is now wanting a new platform. They were talking a year or so back about him launching something, and it ended up looking more like a GCSE technology project than a proper website. So the interest is on what he now launches. Now he's not US president. There's said to be significant money and investment behind this platform, but a lot of it depends on who joins it. Now, Donald Trump will be enough to bring a lot of people to this platform, but it depends who else decides to use it, because there is this interesting debate, regardless whatever side politically you stand on, as to whether the social networks should have the ability and power to decide who says what on their platform, or whether that takes away the ability of free speech. That's the big challenge here. I'm slightly concerned that there's enough trouble on existing platforms controlling, extremist content and content that shouldn't be on those platforms. I'm worried that without setting up this company properly and professionally, Donald Trump might not have some of those safeguards in place. But you can also argue ultimately that the actual social networks that make billions and billions of dollars a year still aren't doing it properly.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see whether it'll be a success or not, or whether it will, as you described, be taken over perhaps by the alt-right, and whether or not, there will have to be interventions, whether it's from government or whatever, to try and control some of the language. And it is a problem, isn't it? We just saw Twitter over the weekend banning Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. She'd been violating their rules around COVID misinformation guidelines. We're not actually told what she said, but it is a controversial subject, the banning of people, something that Trump's spoken out against. But then there's always the argument about social responsibility and whether or not you should be being able to spread misinformation on such a big platform.
There is. Now, they haven't singled out the tweets that got her banned, but she was regularly saying that COVID was a myth and people did not need to be treated for it. I'm not saying that's actually what caused her to be pulled off the platform, but those were the kind of content of her tweets. So that's understandable, in my view, why an organisation like Twitter would say this is not socially responsible. We're going to remove this content. But all the social networks have this incredible problem now. If somebody decides to go rogue and not post within the norms of what should be acceptable on those platforms, how soon should it be till they get taken off of the platform? I mean, Eamonn could go rogue this morning and start posting stuff, but how long does it take for him to be removed from the platform if it's unsuitable content? None of these rules are published, and the big challenge is the tech companies don't necessarily communicate it very well, like they did with the Congresswoman this weekend. They don't often tell us why somebody has been removed, which leads to the suspicion, which then leads to sites like Donald Trump's new Truth.social being launched.
OK, Will Guyett, really good to get your thoughts this morning, and it will be a fascinating year 2022, not least from a tech perspective. Thanks for joining us. OK, let's take a look at the newspaper front pages today. Of course, it is Bank Holiday Monday, but the paper's still in full swing. Let's take a look at what the Mirror is running this morning. They say there is an emergency in the NHS due to staff COVID infections. They say 1 in 10 staff were absent from work on New Year's Eve. Let's move to the Daily Star. They say we are set for a polar plunge, with Britain facing temperatures as low as -10 Celsius. It says the cold weather will start to bite from today. OK, let's bring in our studio guests, and I'm joined now by Jenny Murray and Kevin Adams to take us through the newspapers. Thank you for joining us again here on Breakfast. Look, should we start with staycations? It is that time of the year, isn't it, when lots of people are thinking about their holidays. We've got through the Christmas period, but we want a little bit of a break to look forward to.
The really worrying thing about staycations is there's been a 6-fold rise in lightning injuries since staycations became popular. And apparently, the most dangerous things to do are hill walking, fishing and camping. So that's fine for me. I wouldn't want to do any of those
What's
things.
your idea of a good holiday, then?
My idea of a good holiday is somewhere warm, which it's
Not the UK?
No, not the UK. Somewhere warm, a nice beach with lovely, soft, gentle waves. Greece.
Yeah, you're painting a picture for me.
And I sit underneath a tree with a really good book.
I mean, that sounds a bit like Southend, so you...
No, it wouldn't be
Come on,
warm.
staycation, head down to
Southend
Southend.
wouldn't be warm enough.
Yeah, we're warm. The summers are warm here.
But when it is warm here, everyone from the city flocks onto the tiniest little stretch of beach. And, I mean, you've got to admit, it can go a bit crazy on a British beach on a hot day.
I'm not going to lie, I like it crazy on the British beach.
Yeah?
Yes, the more crowded, the better. The noise, the people, the interaction, social interaction. Especially now, we've been so... We're so used to being apart. It's so nice to see people together and hear the sound of people talking and the hustle bustle of people. So
I was down on the south coast for Christmas, and I walked my dogs along not the beach, the higher part, because it's a bit. They don't like being near the water, and there were dozens and dozens of people swimming in the sea on Christmas morning, and I and my dogs agreed.
No thanks.
They were insane.
Yeah, I have to say that's not something I've ever wanted to do. I bet from a fitness point of view, it's the best way to start the new year. You'd love it.
It's such a great thing to do to stimulate the system. It's an energizer and it invigorates you. So it's a great way to start the day, get the metabolic rate going, and just get circulation going. So yes, I'd recommend it.
Let's talk about girls' schools, shall we? And you've picked out a story. It's in quite a few of the papers this morning. A really interesting issue relating to admissions and this ever more topical subject of transgender. Tell us more, Jenny.
It's very interesting. The Girls' Day School Trust has said they will not admit biological males who identify as female because they very much want to retain their single-sex status.
Right. There hasn't been much guidance from the government on this, so they're stepping out on their own and saying this is where we stand on it.
We're girls' schools and we will remain single-sex girls' schools.
See, I'd be very interested to know if they've been receiving applications from boys who now identify as girls.
We haven't had any details of that. I haven't read any details about that. There are apparently some girls within these schools who have decided to identify as boys, which of course has become very common over the past couple of years. But I haven't read that there have been any applications from male
and
female.
I'll open it up to the panel. I mean, do you think that's a good thing? Do you think that a boy identifying as a girl should be able to be schooled in a girls' school, a fee-paying girls' school?
You've just said that there's a girl that identifies as a boy and she's in the school. She didn't get removed. She's still there. It's what she identifies as. So if you're taking the identity from one sex, you must do it for the other. It is what it's there.
Yeah, it's a can of worms, isn't it?
Yes,
this whole topic. And so arguably you think then they should be removing those students who identify as boys from the girls' school if that's their policy and application.
If that's their policy, stick to the policy. I think it's wrong, but yeah, if that's your policy, stick to it. It's a stupid policy. And eventually we will come to a place where we are just accepting of individuals, regardless of how we feel, It's about how they feel and how they interact with society.
It's slightly more than that, because what we have to make sure we protect is the rights that women have fought for so long. You know, it spreads out from schools, it spreads out to changing rooms, to toilets, to
So you're
prisons.
saying if I choose to identify as a woman and I'm in the process of transitioning, what am I doing to what you feel as a woman?
Well, do you know, it's interesting. I was at the theatre on Friday night and I needed to go to the loo in the interval. And I am absolutely not fussy about these kind of things, but I needed to go to the loo. I went into the loos, which were mixed. They had individual cubicles. There were no urinals. But as I was coming out of my cubicle, a guy came in through the door and he was unzipping his flies as he came through the door, which maybe is a natural thing that men do as they go into the loo. They just start to get ready. And I was shocked.
So he was a man identifying as a woman using the female toilet?
No, he was a man using a mixed toilet. But he clearly forgot that he shouldn't unzip himself until he goes into his cubicle.
It's a can of worms, it's a can of worms. I know everyone's going to want their say on this. Let us know your thoughts and we'll be responding to some of those, I'm sure, on social media today. Go on, have a final quick 30 seconds.
On my Instagram, if I'm walking into the mixed unisex toilet and I decide to zip my trousers, as long as I'm not exposing myself, I want to prep, then I prep. The same way as when you're walking in, you take off your coat as you walk into the cubicle. You do it before you get in the cubicle. It's OK.
Right, this is why we love you guys. This is why we love debate. Really good to have you both on for the papers. Jenny Murray and Kevin Adams, thank you both so much. Stay tuned our way. Lots more for you on the show this morning. We're going to be talking about the festive period we've obviously all been through. And, of course, there have been relatively few restrictions here in England. But what was your New Year like? Did you go out and celebrate, or is this Omicron still too scary? Our East Midlands reporter Will Hollis went out to Grantham to ask you how you celebrated.
We spent Christmas Day on our own, me and my husband, at our house. We didn't see our family, and that was in order to then be able to celebrate for New Year's Eve. So we had quite a quiet Christmas this year. We didn't go to any bars or pubs. And then New Year's Eve, we went to a big party and did tests before we went.
We went out New Year's Eve afternoon. So I was at a local restaurant, the wife and I, because she works retail, so she was working the following day. So we were eating and drinking in the afternoon. The kids, who are both grown up now, were out in the pubs in the evening.
We would usually probably go to the pub for a few drinks, but we didn't this year because obviously COVID is still around, this new variant, and we just wanted to keep our family as safe as possible.
We went out for meals and we also had Christmas with the family. We didn't really alter any plans, and the reason for that was because we're all vaccinated. As requested by the government, and we just took precautions as and when needed.
Because of mine and my husband's age, we feel a lot more vulnerable, so we prefer not to go to places. We could have gone to somewhere on New Year's Eve, which is very close to us, but we chose not to.
Normally I would go out and about and possibly go to a football match and things like that, but not now, no.
I spent it with my daughter. Only one son came with me, so there's only three of us, and we didn't go out socialising, and although I've been boosted, I feel a bit safer having that.
We felt really confident about New Year's. Obviously we had loads of family and friends around, and we really enjoyed doing what we were doing. Like, there was karaoke involved, everyone was just having fun, and although there was like old people, like my girlfriend's nana there involved, like we weren't afraid of Omicron at all. Like, it was just us being together, like in unity, you know, in harmony and peace. So there was nothing to be afraid of, mate, honestly.
This is the new future. Just get on with it. Wear your mask when you go into a restaurant. Sit down, then take it off and have your meal or drink or whatever. And use a bit of common sense. Life has got to get on. We've got to get on with it.
Let's get back to this whole issue about masks and pupils in England who will be wearing them, but not their teachers. Let's go to Westminster now. The Education Secretary, Nadeem Zahawi, is there for us this morning. Secretary of State, good morning and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, Eamonn, and congratulations to you and Isabel for your inaugural programme. It's a delight.
Thank you, and thank you for being on it as well. This week, big decision for you to make. How much is the opinion of teachers involved in the pupils wearing the masks, but they not wearing them?
So we absolutely trust the teachers and the head teachers and the support staff. They did a brilliant job last year. 99.9% of schools were open at the end of last year, and I'm certain they'll do a brilliant job with the testing that we're asking them to do this first week back. I made sure we had enough test kits because we have an alternative route to provide those. You and I would be having a different conversation if I hadn't. And of course, I've also announced, as part of Plan B, you'll recall, we had mask wearing in communal parts in schools. The guidance we've suggested is that just whilst Omicron is surging, that students in secondary schools wear masks in the classroom. It's not ideal. I want them to wear it for as short a period as possible.
But I think the thing is, Secretary of State,
whilst we transition this virus,
I think there's a confusion about who wear them and why they wear them. For instance, when you have cabinet meetings, it must be like sitting in a classroom. Do you guys wear masks during cabinet meetings?
So it's a really important question, and I think it's important to remember that as far as people going to work, which is what cabinet ministers do, or if you go to work, we're asking people to work from home wherever possible. It's different with schools. We want students to be in school learning. We know the painful mistake of the early way that we had to deal with the COVID pandemic was to have children out of schools. We know that the best place for children is to be in school with their friends, learning in front of a teacher.
Look, you don't have to tell me that, Minister. I'm a parent myself, and anything that keeps kids in school is OK by me. I just want to know whether or not you think that there is an inequality between the generations. We're talking about adults in our newsroom behind us, your cabinet meetings, people in pubs, people in theatres, people in restaurants, not having to wear masks. And yet here we are once again asking the youngsters to take measures, mitigations that protect the rest of us. And I just wonder whether or not you think that's fair. They've already been through so much.
Well, also to protect themselves and to keep them in their classroom. I want to keep Omicron out of the classroom and students in the classroom, and not for a day longer. As soon as we see that we can transition this particular variant from where we are today, where obviously London was the epicentre, but it's now rising in other parts of the country. As soon as we make sure that staff absenteeism is under control, we were at 8% at the end of last year. Then I don't want children to be wearing masks. In fact, I've also asked my team in the department to look at doing a piece of research for the longer term as to the impact of wearing masks in classroom would have on students and on their ability to learn. So these are
we're just running out of time.
And measures.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you there, but you are an amazing man. I mean, you arrived in this country, fleeing Saddam Hussein. You arrived at 9 years of age. You couldn't speak English. You have so much to be thankful for, to the education that you received in this country. So I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, this man doesn't take this decision lightly. I mean, getting it right, it's a heavy weight on your shoulders.
It is, and I don't want students to be wearing masks in class for a day longer than necessary. The UK Health and Security Agency, because of Omicron and because how much more infectious it is, recommended it. We did a piece of work in the department, an observational study with 123 schools which did have masks in classroom, and actually I will share the evidence with Parliament in the next 48 hours on this, and some of the evidence from other countries like Germany. It's one measure of a number of measures. Testing next week this week, forgive me, is really important. And of course the CO2 monitors. I delivered 350,000 CO2 monitors, and because some schools, especially the special schools and alternative provision, may not be able to mitigate for ventilation,
I've got 7,000 air purifiers also available for those schools who can't mitigate for that. But the data from the 350,000 CO2 monitors suggests most of them can. And so
I just wanted to ask you about that
this week.
Sorry to interrupt
where we get
you.
education back open.
Yeah, and I just wanted to ask you about the ventilation, because it does strike me that 2 years into this pandemic, we could be better prepared, and we shouldn't need to, at this stage, be wheeling in the air purifying systems. Is that your problem, do you think, or is that down to Gavin Williamson, who a lot of people would say really didn't do a good job in your position?
Well, to be fair to Gavin Williamson, he ordered the 350,000 CO2 monitors, which we delivered. And what they allowed us to do is to be able to see which schools, I've got 24,300 schools approximately, which schools can manage to mitigate for making sure the classroom is healthy and a good place for children to study and work in. Out of that data, I can now see that we probably need the 7,000 air purifiers for those schools who can't easily mitigate, which is why I've made them available to those schools. So I think it's a combination of making sure you've got the data in the first place. I've always said I'll be the evidence-led Secretary of State. That's what I've done throughout my whole career, both in business and in politics. And the evidence suggests that from the CO2 monitoring we've done, that what we've now bought, the 7,000, is about the right number. If other schools need them and they don't qualify for them, I've also set up a marketplace. I announced it at the end of last year, where they can order additional air purifiers as well. Secretary of State, we've got to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for your time today, and a happy new year professionally and personally as well. Thanks for your time. That's Nadeem Zahawi there, the Secretary of State for Education.
He did such a great job as Vaccines Minister. Really hope that he can carry on doing a fantastic job and keep our schools open. Fingers crossed. Lots more coming your way this morning.
Your views as well. GBNews at gbnews.uk, or tweet us at GBNews. This is The Breakfast Show on GB News with Eamonn and Isabel. We're back after this.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Well, looking ahead to today's weather, and the UK is looking showery for many, with colder air working its way southwards over northern areas. Let's take a look at some of the details. Well, many of the showers should have eased from southwest England, but it will be a generally cloudy and breezy picture, with rain not too far off the south coast. A similar story for London and the southeast, with a fair amount of dry, if rather cloudy weather around on Monday lunchtime. Still on the mild side, though. Scattered showers will be affecting much of Wales, with brightest weather further north and cloudier skies in the south. Temperatures there up to around 11 Celsius. Then bright skies for much of the Midlands, though a few showers are likely towards Herefordshire and Shropshire. Temperatures there at lunchtime up to around 9 or 10 Celsius for many areas, with a brisk southwesterly wind. Some sunshine for much of Yorkshire, but we'll run into thicker cloud towards County Durham and Northumberland, with some patchy rain arriving on the scene by lunchtime. Temperatures by now back into single figures. And the weather front bringing about the change to colder weather that will be sat over central and southern Scotland at lunchtime, with temperatures continuing to fall throughout the afternoon. And that same weather front will then be making inroads into the north of Ireland, but at this stage it should still be dry and perhaps quite bright for Belfast and Armagh. Rain and hill snow coming south into northern England this evening, and becoming very windy with snow showers in northern Scotland. And that's how the weather is shaping up for the rest of your bank holiday Monday.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello there, I'm Eamonn.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk. Join my show Farrar, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamonn Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamonn.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
This is Breakfast on GB News with Eamonn and Isabel. It's just after 9 o'clock on this bank holiday, Monday the 3rd of January. We just want to say thank you for those of you who are tuning in. We launch for real tomorrow. We're just in sort of testing things out today and whatever, and so far so good. You know, everything is here that we need. All we need is you watching it.
Yeah, we're going to do things a bit differently on this new look show. We're trying to not only find out about the stories that matter to you, the issues, but we also want to celebrate your communities. We're going to be up and down the country talking to you, and also using the very wonderful interactive opportunities we get through social media. Loads of you have been flooding our inboxes this morning, and we really haven't got time to respond to them all.
Already
but
today
we've
been live in Sheffield, we've been live on the Isle of Wight, we've been live from Cumber in Northern Ireland. Where else have we been to? Altrincham, Temperley, Frodsham, which we'll be going to next. And all things showbiz will happen in this next half hour of the programme, because we're going to be talking to Hannah Hope from The Sun on Sunday. A lot has been happening, from Harry Potter's return to Hogwarts.
And Emily in Paris. That always ruffles a few people's feathers, although I love it.
Why?
Oh, apparently it's a bit of cultural generalisations that are offensive. First of all, it was to the French, and now it is to the Ukrainians, but we'll delve into that with Hannah. And we're also talking about the movies to watch out for this year. Your Mate, of course, Jamie Dornan, starring in Belfast. He's one of them. So all of that coming your way. And like I said, you know, this is your breakfast show, and so we very much want to hear your thoughts. Look, let's go to Bradley Harris. He's our North West of England reporter. He's live for us this morning. He promised us, didn't he, Eamonn, that now he would translocate across to a pub. Shall we check in and see if he's managed that?
I hope not. Yes. No, good. He's outside a church.
There you go.
Yeah, that's right. I'm taking a tour of the Northwest, and I'm going up and down the streets of Great Britain, knocking on your doorstep to find out what you think of the big news stories of the day.
There we go. The inboxes continue to go crazy with your thoughts, particularly about fireworks and animals. Two sides to this story, of course, the human fun to be had from this, and the fact that some animals, particularly dogs, are either bothered or not bothered by all of this sort of thing. It's easy to say, as some people do. You just have to communicate assurance to your pets. But I've tried that. I've done that. We have a particularly nervous dog, only with fireworks. Though.
Only with fireworks?
Not with other things, not with noises of other descriptions and whatever it is.
So let's take a look at what you've been saying this morning then. Eileen in Wiltshire, she's written in and said, our dog Cassie lived to nearly 18. It was only in the last few years when she went deaf that she had relief from firework noise. She would shake uncontrollably and pant continuously.
Mel's email, she says, I believe we should have the right to use fireworks when we want. Good on you, Mel. Some people, though, are going on about to use them at big events, says Mel. But what happens if you live near a location used for big events?
Tina Bruce?
No, we're just raising the question.
We are. We're right. We don't have the answers exactly. Tina Bruce is one of the people who reached out to you, I think, a tweet that you put out over the weekend. Is that right, about all of this? And she's got in touch this morning. In fact, she's going to join us on the show this morning. Your dog Patch has been really badly offended by this, Tina.
Hiya, Tina.
Hi, morning.
Tell us how Patch is doing then. Did he hate New Year's Eve?
He did. I think luckily New Year's Eve is only one night and people sort of kept the fireworks just to New Year's Eve. But fireworks night, November the 5th, is particularly awful for him.
Do you know, it's interesting, Tina, the way this breaks down. People who don't have pets or are not overly interested in farm animals or wildlife, they just think they don't see the problem. I was saying earlier, if they could see the problem, if more of us videoed the nervous wrecks that our pets turn into, it might make a difference.
I'd agree with you to a point, but on local social media, a lot of people do that because we have a lot of distressed pets around here.
Yeah.
And you get an awful lot of comments from people just saying, oh, suck it up, it's only a night, and it's quite hard when actually fireworks night tends to go on for 3 or 4 weeks now, and it's really, really hard, especially with a really distressed animal around the house, because it affects them every day, not just on the time the fireworks are going off.
Yeah, because, as you said, it affects them every day, because I agree with you. It's almost as if you could take that if it was one night or 2 nights or 3 nights. But goodness me, the excuses people find to let off bangers and crackers and rockets and all sorts of things.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm really conflicted about this because before having our current dog, I hadn't had a dog since I was a child, and I loved fireworks. I grew up in an area where bonfires were a really big thing. I don't know if lots of people will have heard of Frodsham bonfire. It's a really big thing in Surrey. And then latterly we moved to Sussex, and there's a big bonfire tradition in Sussex. And when the children were younger, we went to all the displays. It's fabulous. And I seem to remember as a child, my dog wasn't terribly bothered by fireworks. But the dog we have now, he's an old rescue dog, and he's living his best life. He's just relaxing and snoozing around the house, and this really, really distresses him. Oh. And I know a lot of other animals and people as well.
Yeah, there's a fabulous bonfire, I think, in Chiddingfold, near where I got married. It's absolutely lovely. I don't know if that's near where you just mentioned them in Sussex there. Look, I'm one of these people on New Year's Eve. I've got young kids. We bought one of those packs that you light and run away, and then you watch it, and the kids were oohing and ahhing. And it was a lovely little moment. I confess, guilty as charged. I wasn't thinking about the pets. I will be more mindful in the future. But what's the answer to all of this? Do we really want to ban them? Or are we talking about, restricting the use to one day only, changing some legislation on this?
Make them silent.
How do you police it or make them silent? I mean, what do you think would be the best way to deal with this?
It is really hard. I mean, I don't want to be a fun sponge because I can see both sides of it. I can see people get a great deal of enjoyment, but on the other side, then you do have the distressed pets and people. I think I seem to remember when I was much younger, that bonfire night was pretty much the 5th of November or possibly the weekend before or after. But now it just seems to go on for several weeks before and after, which causes additional distress. I do think that organised displays are a really good thing. And I think the sale of silent fireworks now for sort of home use would be a really good way to go, because they do mitigate, obviously, a lot of the noise. You still get
You put a very good case. Thank you very much indeed, and thank you for being a GB News viewer. It's your views, it's your news, and hopefully we've been reflecting that, and we'll continue to reflect that throughout the week. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's take a look at what else is making the headlines this morning. And secondary school pupils are being told to take COVID tests before coming back to class in England this week. Face masks will also be mandatory for children over 11. The Education Secretary says classes may be merged if too many teachers are off sick as part of efforts to protect face-to-face learning.
I want to keep Omicron out of the classroom and students in the classroom, and not for a day longer. As soon as we see that we can transition this particular variant from where we are today, where obviously London was the epicentre, but it's now rising in other parts of the country. As soon as we make sure that staff absenteeism is under control, we were at 8% at the end of last year. Then I don't want children to be wearing masks.
A legal document Prince Andrew's lawyers hope will end the civil sex case against him is going to be made public. His legal team say the case should be thrown out because of a 2009 settlement agreement between his accuser, Virginia Giuffre, and the Duke of York's former friend and convicted sex offender, Jeffrey Epstein.
Hundreds of thousands of people have signed a petition calling for Tony Blair to be stripped of his knighthood. The former Prime Minister was included in the New Year's honours list, but critics say the 2003 invasion of Iraq makes him unsuitable for the Queen's highest honour.
New figures show lockdown activities led to thousands more people going to hospital. Repeated restrictions saw many turn to DIY, always dangerous, getting new pets and outdoor pursuits. According to NHS figures, it led to over 8,000 tool accidents. There's many ways of interpreting that one. More than 7,000 dog bites and over 5,000 people, it says, falling off playground equipment. It doesn't say children, it says people.
Well,
when was the last time you took to a slide or a...
do you know, I do occasionally have to go and climb up these things to either rescue or encourage. I don't know. Yeah, it happens. But I haven't seen any adult accidents.
Well, certainly not an adult accident. Our Northwest of England reporter, Bradley
Star of
Harris.
the show, I feel.
My wife's texted me already and said, he's very good.
Great.
Very good. Don't let that go to your head. So he's been on various doorsteps today around the Northwest of England. What are we up to now, Bradley?
Well, Eamonn and Isabel, I promised you a pub. Here it is, the Ring of Bells. We've taken a little tour of the Northwest. We're in Frodsham now, and we've come across this lovely local pub because, of course, we want to try and get on your doorstep to find out your views and opinions on those big national stories. Of course, one big one that we've been talking about is hospitality over Christmas and the New Year. So I thought, what better place to find out what that's been like than actually at a pub? And we're going to knock on. Pubs are usually not really open at this time in the morning, hoping that they are. Here we go. Hi. Just, you probably heard us outside there. We're talking about hospitality today and what it's been like over Christmas and New Year. Just want to get your thoughts and opinions. How has Christmas been here at the Ring of Bells?
To be honest, it's been fantastic. Considering where everything's going on, it's been fantastic. We've had a couple of cancellations, but with the locals in the village, we've replaced them really quickly, so we've been very lucky. So we've had a lot of support as well from GWE, so through the whole pandemic, we've brilliant with us, and our area manager Dan, he's kept us updated as much as he possibly can. But no, so far so good. Compared to last year, it's been pretty much a normal Christmas as it can be.
Right, well that's interesting because, I know in parts in Manchester city centre, those bigger bars have experienced cancellations. There's big Christmas party bookings gone. I was speaking to a chef, Simon Wood, just a few weeks ago, saw cancellations just rocket up because of Omicron. But you, obviously, a smaller pub, let's be honest, you're seeing your regulars come back, which is great news.
Definitely, and with it being like a village, I think that's helped with all the support from everyone in the village. So that's a good bonus for us, I should say, because we're always pretty full most of the time. So I do feel sorry for all the bigger companies because we understand it's not fair because it is hard. But
well, look, we've been on your doorstep and we've been on other people's doorsteps all morning. Do you mind if we come in, though, and take a look inside the pub? Lovely, cosy pub. Who have we got here? What's your name?
My name's Phil. How do you do, Phil? Yes, thank you.
Philip, we've been talking, one of the other big stories is on face masks in secondary school. Do you have any kids?
I do have two daughters in Harford High, which is over in Northwich, yeah.
Right, and what do you think about masks becoming mandatory in schools, secondary schools at the moment? Do you think that's the right approach?
Yeah, I think at this time it probably is to keep them safe and obviously us safe as well. So I think for the sake of keeping everyone safe, it's a good idea, I think. It's not a massive change to the lifestyle. It's just, wearing a mask in school. You've done it before, So I can't see there's a problem, to be truthful, do I?
Some people were saying that they want to get back to normal, though. They want to see life back to normal again. And they, you know, we, especially going into 2022, 2 years of it. Do you think that's kind of something that you're hoping for? What are punters saying when they come into the pub?
Again, they're echoing that same sentiment. You know, we've had 2 years, and we've sort of now got to get back to some normality as much as we can, even though there is a lot of people still ill with it. A lot of people want to try and be safe, but, you know, get back to a bit of regularity of what they're doing and how they do it. Do you mean? Because obviously the pub is not just about drinking, it's about community, people coming and meeting different people, you know, people who move into the area, find the local pub, come in and integrate with the people that are already in the village. So, you know, it's an important part of that way. It's not just about coming in and drinking, it's more about, you know, socialising with other people, again, at a safe distance, because, you know, we've got tables spread around.
Yeah. Well, look, you mentioned that pubs aren't just about drinking, but it is a big part of it.
It is.
I've never actually had a go at pulling one of these pints. Do you mind if I quickly come round and see if I can have a go? Do you mind? I'm going to try GBNews first. We're going to try and follow me around. We've got Ben behind the camera. He's doing a very good job at following me around this pub. So how does it work? Just quickly then.
Well, I'll show you this one. I'll show you. So what you've got to do is nice smooth pulls, and normally 3 will fill a glass, and then just a bit at the end just to top off.
Right, okay, and I know we've got not much time left, so shall I have a quick look at that?
Yes,
so it's all about the smooth pull then, Phil, is it? Right,
yes.
Okay. Here we go. If you want to hold the mic, you do the job of the reporter, and I'll become the bartender. Right, here we go. Bring it up.
Right to the bottom.
Right to the bottom.
Yeah.
How many pulls are we talking
3.
here? 3.
Right to the bottom, though.
Right to the bottom. Oh, hang on. There's a lot of froth here.
Yes, because you've not put it right to the bottom.
Oh, gosh, right, okay.
Well, you're doing
hang on.
okay
Is that
for
all
your
right?
first effort, yes.
Here we go. And the third and final
and then
pull.
just a little bit at the top.
A little bit?
Yeah, just the
Look
top.
at that.
That's a good pint. That's,
to be fair,
that's not a bad pint.
Do you think that's not bad?
That's
well, look.
pretty good for your first pint. Cheers.
Look at that, and it's not even the afternoon yet, but cheers to that.
Local brewery.
Look at that, local brew from a local pub. Can't beat it, can you?
Thank you.
Cheers, Brad. Thanks very much. I know when I was a barman, there'd be complaints about that pint, because they'd say it's not a pint.
Oh, it's not up to the top.
No, it didn't go up to the top.
So we've been a binman, a barman, a milkman,
experience of life.
TV.
Being a barman, which is what I thought I would end up being. I mean, I used to present the Tea Time news programme in Belfast and then go and work in a pub.
I remember, because I've read your autobiography.
Yeah,
I remember that. And that's from a man who doesn't drink.
Yeah, because my barman, Pat Thompson, the chief barman, he said to me, you're surrounded by drink, he said, and it's the ruination of many a barman. It's also the ruination of many a TV presenter.
That's true. I was a shots girl once upon a time, and how the mighty have fallen.
You're licking your lips, you're salivating at that one.
I'm doing dry January.
Oh, yes, we're going to look ahead to the weekend, because we've got our friends Stephen Dixon and Anne Diamond coming in, because we're a bit of a new look today. What we want to do is reflect what you're going to be seeing over the weekend with Stephen and Anne right after this.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Well, looking ahead to today's weather, and the UK is looking showery for many, with colder air working its way southwards over northern areas. Let's take a look at some of the details. Well, many of the showers should have eased from southwest England, but it will be a generally cloudy and breezy picture, with rain not too far off the south coast. A similar story for London and the southeast, with a fair amount of dry, if rather cloudy weather around on Monday lunchtime. Still on the mild side, though. Scattered showers will be affecting much of Wales, with brightest weather further north and cloudier skies in the south. Temperatures there up to around 11 Celsius. Then bright skies for much of the Midlands, though a few showers are likely towards Herefordshire and Shropshire. Temperatures there at lunchtime up to around 9 or 10 Celsius for many areas, with a brisk southwesterly wind. Some sunshine for much of Yorkshire, but we'll run into thicker cloud towards County Durham and Northumberland, with some patchy rain arriving on the scene by lunchtime. Temperatures by now back into single figures. And the weather front bringing about the change to colder weather that will be sat over central and southern Scotland at lunchtime, with temperatures continuing to fall throughout the afternoon. And that same weather front will then be making inroads into the north of Ireland, but at this stage it should still be dry and perhaps quite bright for Belfast and Armagh. Rain and hill snow coming south into northern England this evening, and becoming very windy with snow showers in northern Scotland. And that's how the weather is shaping up for the rest of your bank holiday Monday.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello there, I'm Eamonn.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamonn Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamonn.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Well, there we are. We're coming to the end of our first day, hopefully not our last day, on the GB News Breakfast Show. A new look, not only a new look at Monday to Friday, but come Saturday and Sunday, I give you Stephen Dixon and Anne Diamond.
Hello. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you.
Good to see you. Do you know, it's really, what is really interesting, I think, about what we can bring all 7 days a week is this idea of a brighter breakfast. I know we were talking about this the other day, weren't we, Eamonn? But I was even just talking to someone today who said, I can't watch the news anymore. Yeah. It's too depressing. And although we do need to bring you all the news, I think we can look at the good side of life as well.
There are things to smile about as well, aren't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're all doing it. And I think it's just important that if we, on television, actually show people there are good aspects to what's happening. I mean, it's like, it's been awful being in lockdown. It's been awful with restrictions. But actually, people have found a sense of community again, and they've valued their neighbours and things like that. So I think, there's a good side to things, and we need to stress it. And I think the media gets very lazy in just going on the bad news all the time. And I think we do need to...
Do you want me to predict what's going to happen for the rest of the
go
year?
on.
Go on.
Yeah.
And what is your star sign?
Virgo. Virgo.
Virgo, let me think.
Yeah.
Virgo, here we go.
It's a
You will find it easier to give than to receive.
Oh, really?
A close friend or loved one will want to give you a token of their appreciation as the year begins. So be thankful for praise and gifts received.
Oh, I'm always thankful for praise and gifts received, but I'll work really hard at it. That's nice.
Stephen?
I'm a Pisces, yeah.
Oh, Pisces. Everybody I know seems to be a Pisces. Pisces, right. Someone has been relying on you, Stephen, for too long to listen to their tales of woe and to dry their tears. Remember, their problems are not your problems. As the year begins, you will be ready to break free from restrictive relationships and break any cycle of codependency. With your charisma, well, that's rubbish. What charisma?
Well, I was going to say, I don't know about breaking. Well, I'm getting married this year.
Well, hey, look at this. Your charisma will soar to an all-time high in the spring.
Oh, well, that's GB News.
Show.
That's a very good sign.
I'm a Libra.
Yeah.
Libra up here. OK. Worrying about the past, Isabel, puts you under unnecessary pressure. You can't change what has been, but if you want to make changes in your current relationship, think about what you can do now to make for a happier future. There you are.
There you go. I'll tell you what, it's all nonsense anyway.
Yeah.
Who believes the star sign?
Oh, I don't know. Do you?
No.
Do you?
No.
I tell you what, I mean, I don't either. I think it's a load of rubbish. But the astrologers who write these columns, they make a fortune and a whole career
Mine
out
says,
of it.
fill your life with the activities you enjoy the most. pretty soon you'll be thinking about the future and making long-term plans. Yeah, how to get up. I need to make a long-term plan how to get up in the morning. I didn't sleep a wink last night.
Oh, gosh, me neither.
And then my kids bought me a fancy alarm clock that went off, and then I couldn't turn it on. I couldn't get rid of it. There was too many.
That might be the
You'll get used to it, Eamonn. You've been used to it before.
Yeah. We'll all have to get used to it again.
Can you believe it? We're out of time. And Stephen, good luck with your show. I don't need to wish you luck. Seasoned pros that you are.
It's going to be fun.
It will.
We are delighted that we are all together on a team. Thank you for coming in.
And thank you for watching today.
Yeah, thank you.
Wherever you're watching from. Breakfast with Eamonn and Isabel. Hopefully we'll be back tomorrow. Coming up, it's the briefing with Tom Harwood. But first, we say goodbye, and you can say hello to your weather.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Well, looking ahead to today's weather, and the UK is looking showery for many, with colder air working its way southwards over northern areas. Let's take a look at some of the details. Well, many of the showers should have eased from southwest England, but it will be a generally cloudy and breezy picture with rain not too far off the south coast. A similar story for London and the southeast, with a fair amount of dry, if rather cloudy weather around on Monday lunchtime. Still on the mild side, though. Scattered showers will be affecting much of Wales, with brightest weather further north and cloudier skies in the south. Temperatures there up to around 11 Celsius. Then bright skies for much of the Midlands, though a few showers are likely towards Herefordshire and Shropshire. Temperatures there at lunchtime up to around 9 or 10 Celsius for many areas, with a brisk southwesterly wind. Some sunshine for much of Yorkshire, but we'll run into thicker cloud towards County Durham and Northumberland, with some patchy rain arriving on the scene by lunchtime. Temperatures by now back into single figures. And the weather front bringing about the change to colder weather that will be sat over central and southern Scotland at lunchtime, with temperatures continuing to fall throughout the afternoon. And that same weather front will then be making inroads into the north of Ireland, but at this stage it should still be dry and perhaps quite bright for Belfast and Armagh. Rain and hill snow coming south into northern England this evening and becoming very windy with snow showers in northern Scotland. And that's how the weather is shaping up for the rest of your bank holiday Monday.
Canary